gas. And I'm all out of bubble.
Live exclusively for WCPT in Chicago, standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
Well, good morning, everyone. Yet another day of nothing really to talk about. Just no news, just a regular kind of early fall chit-chat about politics. This has been the left turn that this, beg your pardon, that this week took is extraordinary on so many fronts. So, in case you've been under a rock, so Johnny, give us the layman's terms of what you experienced as far as how you thought the week was going, what you thought the big news was, and then what happened. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. It seems like a year and a half ago, but it was actually. That's correct. Yeah, stand back and stand by was a big part of it. Vegas, and then right, right, hot and heavy. Yeah, super odd that you're operating on a certain minimal level of information with this White House, anyways. This is always an issue with them. You've had, especially, I would say the biggest purveyor of it before Haley McEnany came in and started telling everybody what was what, was Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne Conway, in and of its, essentially becoming this kind of, she was the Baghdad Barbie of the early Trump years, right? This is, she was the one, sniping at people even earlier this year about, you don't think it's contained? Why would you think it's not contained? How do you think it's not contained? Why would you not think it's contained? When clearly no one in their right mind would believe that it was contained in any meaningful way. It is. We now know, of course, in the ensuing days that that effectively following the Amy Coney Barrett unveiling, that turned into essentially a super spreader event. That allegedly that is the linchpin, the pivot point wherein it seems to be rolling through. And I don't know if anybody's heard this morning, but Chris Christie has now tested positive. He was at the same event. So far, we have the president's campaign manager, the president himself, his wife, three senators, Tom Tillis, and we just found out that Ron Johnson has tested positive. Senator,
I don't know that name.
Russia's favorite senator,
okay.
as it were. Over the last little bit, Ron Johnson is the one that you've heard a lot of stories about, how the president himself, the conspiracy theory any conspiracy theory that Russia wants into our political system now comes by the conduit of Ron Johnson dropping it into committee.
Right.
That's effectively it. So let's see. Let's see. I think chat room, by the way, we should be all right. Let me know if you guys are hearing audio and all that kind of stuff. I was doing some bits to fix this and make sure everything's kind of up and running. It should be all right. I see audio myself, but just making sure. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. So, over the last 72 hours, there has been an obvious turn in events, and I'm going to play the president's doctor just came out at Walter Reed.
Oh no,
and
isn't
gave a
that crazy
statement in
doctor?
front of the building. I don't hear you for some reason, Johnny. Are you there?
Yeah, check 1 2.
Yep. I think they hear you and I don't. So we'll figure that part of it out in a second. But in the process of attempting, I think, in a lot of ways, to I suppose to calm the fears of a nation and create a balanced picture wherein the American people can feel safe that their president is getting the best care, that he has we have nothing to worry about, that he not only is he getting the cutting edge technological advancements that are available to him as president, but that he is also in good spirits, healthy, up and around, ambulatory, all the stuff that we got used to hearing about Khrushchev and a lot of the early Russian leaders who there used to be this translation that they used to do, which was the premier has a slight fever, which means he's been dead for 3 weeks, and like. He's got the sniffles. There's a bullet wound. Everything was. You had to read it. You had to understand they were playing everything down ferociously. So it's hard not in our modern society to feel a similar way about this kind of thing. The president's physician, Dr. Sean Conley, came out this morning with an array of doctors behind him. Dr. Connolly was not wearing a mask. And the secondary physician that he speaks to is wearing a mask when he's in line, but takes his mask off when he comes up to the microphone, which he touches and then goes back in line. Now, granted, I suppose these folks are operating in the as if. They are all getting tested constantly. They have access to PPE. Anytime they're in with the president, they're completely covered. So when they're outside, and they're all in this kind of setting, they're assuming that the person who set up the podium doesn't have COVID-19, which is a big assumption. At this point, that's a reach. But we'll I'll do that after the break because it's a few minutes. They do ask a couple of crucial questions of him, but as we're breaking through this. There was a cycle of feelings, and I went through it on my stream yesterday as we were talking about this. That we have, of basically how when people are going through the 4 stages of grief, there's, denial, anger, and what have you. In this one, there seems to be this, it's fake, it's real, but he'll be fine. It's real, but he won't be fine, and it's karma or something along those lines. And very possibly he's fake. It's a complete construction for the campaign because they're failing so bad that he's going to, bow out because of medical issues. Pence will pardon him, and because he can't testify because he's got COVID brain after this and can't remember anything like that. There's tons of that. Going around. But the reality is what we are presented with by the people who are giving us this information to the best of their ability. And there's no particular reason to doubt Dr. Sean Conley, who, and I don't know why everyone in this White House has to have TV-ready names, from Dr. Scott Atlas to Dr. Sean Conley. But you can be forgiven for not trusting the information that you are getting out of this White House. I mean, that's the reality. You can be completely forgiven for not taking this seriously at all, and feeling like you are being sold a bill of goods. There is a multitude of directions This can clearly go. Before we start our discussion in any meaningful way this show, and right after, which we will do right after the break, I would like to say that any jokes made in context over the next hour and 45 minutes or so during the course of this show are meant and said within the context that I personally believe he will pull through, that he is receiving the best medical care, and because he is president of the United States, he will heal in a way that's probably not even available as a potential for the average American. So I'm operating on the idea that he will be fine. I do not wish him ill or death in any format, nor do I wish him or anyone around him who's been diagnosed with this to get any sicker than they are, and that they heal as fast as possible. Not just for their health, but for the health of those around them. Because the sicker you get with this disease, the more you spread this disease around. So for a multitude of reasons, I do not, will not, cannot participate in the wishing of ill of the President of the United States or any of his family members or any members of his cabinet or any of that. If they have a debt to pay in karma with their God or any other, that is none of my business. What we're going to talk about, though, in good humor and with as much awareness of the facts as we possibly have, is what is actually going on right now. And if indeed this will shift, because this is the main purpose of this show, the politics around COVID-19 and caring about it. Mask wearing, social distancing, this rush to open things up, whether or not they're ready, all those things, or if this will, in fact, if the president gets through this, make it worse and make him assume that, if he got through it as bad a shape as he is, anybody could. We'll be back right after this. It's the HalSparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. You're a very talented young man, Johnny Million.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You're kind of quiet though, so that might be on my side. So
Maybe. I don't think I've changed my.
No, you probably haven't. It's let me see. Audio and video settings.
Checking 1, 2.
Checking and 1, 2.
This is about how loud I talk. I'm talking.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Hal on the radio.
Can you hear Johnny all right in Chicago?
Check 1, 2.
Yeah,
Chicago.
I can hear him. He's a little low, but I can hear him.
Okay. Yeah, you're a little low on my end too. So maybe spike your settings a little bit.
Yeah, let me see.
Did Bob's Burgers reach Johnny Million sold? Oh, it did. Johnny Million sold. I see. Son, yours, Hal. You guys hear him fine? Okay, good. All right. So something in there.
Oh, they hear me okay?
Yep, they do. So
yeah, this seems to be like doing an auto leveling on my side, and
okay. Well, don't worry about it too much. Then let's see. I'll bring this up. See if that solves it. Say hello.
Hello.
Okay, yeah.
Check
okay,
1.
So I jacked you up in the mixer on this end. So
Okay,
fingers crossed. Yeah. And I think a video has smoothed out a little bit. I don't know why it was being wonky. So thank you, Tom and Windsor. Good to see you, and good morning, everybody. How's it a little louder on Twitch, as I should be? I mean, it's me. Bring it down a touch. Bring him up. The hard part is the sound effects and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. These are,
We're back in 30 seconds.
Thank you. I'm gonna, let's see.
Now let's get back with HalSparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
So I think one thing we can clarify above all others is that the rapid test that the White House is using is crap. I think above all other standards. We have seen multiple times from Kimberly Guilfoyle to other members of the staff, the vice president's main assistant, I believe it was. Dozens of people over the summer have tested positive and had to isolate, who have been using the rapid test in the White House as their gold standard for whether or not they have or do not have COVID-19. And the main event that seems to have been the cause of the main spread that is happening, that we are watching unfold, like we watched cases spike after Tulsa, after the president's first rally, that it clearly tracks back to around Saturday. Friday night, Saturday was the genesis of this particular super spreading event. And this is from the Washington Post about the Saturday unveiling of Amy Coney Barrett, who allegedly, by the way, according to her, tested had coronavirus, quote, this summer, which if you're being a total literalist, could have been any time between June 1st and September 22nd. So she could have just gotten over it, for all we know, and still been contagious. She could be a long hauler that still produces virus, for all we know. And, that is very possible. But in the process, this from the Washington Post, no one was distanced. As White House officials worked to trace the origin of the outbreak, they became concerned about a series of events Saturday. Barrett's Rose Garden announcement and the private indoor receptions surrounding it. So let's be abundantly clear. The White House often waves off concerns. The president specifically has done this repeatedly, where he waves off concerns about the contagion because we're having these things outdoors and the chances of it spreading outdoors are very low. Well, after the event outdoors, everyone moved indoors for an indoor reception. And especially all the people that we are now seeing are infected. A feeling of invincibility from the virus was pervasive. Guests were administered rapid coronavirus tests upon arrival and waited in a room wearing masks. According to Jenkins, the Notre Dame president, who, by the way, tested positive, then he wrote in a statement on Friday, "We were notified that we had all tested negative and were told that it was safe to remove our masks," which is not true. The rapid test they used in the White House has a 50-50 false negative. If you get a false positive...
50-50, then that's not a test.
No, it is not. And it's worse because if it was a 50-50 false positive, you would have a bunch of people quarantining.
Proceeding with caution, yep.
Yes, they would live as if they had it. Now, over time, after 9 or 10 positives, you stop using that test at all, but you would more than likely operate as if, oh, I've got it, I got to get away from my family and friends for a while, see if I become symptomatic and get a second test. The 50-50 false negative is terrible because half of the people who get it, who think they are negative, have it and are walking around as if they don't have it and they're not spreading it. And they are. And especially in an event like this. Once escorted outside, guests mingled in the Rose Garden, shaking hands and hugging, then took seats positioned closely together. Jenkins said he regretted, quote, "my mistake of not wearing a mask and shaking hands at the event." Excuse me. The mixing continued at indoor receptions to celebrate Barrett, which 2 White House officials said Friday have caused deep concern within the president's circle. They were attended by cabinet members, senators, Barrett's family, family members of the late Justice Antonin Scalia, and other guests, including Fox News host Laura Ingraham. They were all mingling without masks and in close quarters, one of the officials said. No one was distanced. I mean, this reeks of some sort of 1920s, uber-rich blow-off party that somehow, Spanish flu and tuberculosis are for the poor. People believe that if their test is negative, then they should be fine, and the truth is that means you're fine today, Walensky said. It doesn't mean you're fine tonight, as the Thursday testing demonstrated. On Friday night, before the Barrett announcement, Trump attended an indoor fundraiser at the Trump International Hotel in Washington, along with McDaniel, Labor Secretary Eugene Scalia, lobbyist Brian Ballard, and a coterie of Trump aides and allies. McDaniel, who then spent 2 days with the president before beginning to show symptoms earlier this week, tested positive for the virus on Wednesday. She told the president about her infection on Friday morning, although she had notified some White House officials before then, according to 2 people familiar with the situation. She had attempted to reach Trump sooner, but did not get through to him, and spoke instead to the White House with a White House doctor, which you would think would be just as good. I mean, that's nuts. So let me play a little bit of this press conference real quick. This is Dr. Sean Conley speaking with a row of doctors behind him.
Juliana Levopa, Navy nurse. Lieutenant Commander John Shea, clinical pharmacist. And not present with us are Lieutenant Beth Carter, Lieutenant Maureen Meehan, both Navy nurses, and Dr. Jesse Schoenau, director of our executive medicine program.
By the way, there are 10 doctors behind him and 2 or 3 that are not there. So the idea is there's an army of doctors taking care of the president. You have nothing to worry about. He's getting the best care. The problem with this is it looks like every system of his body is failing when you have this come out. Like, why not just have his primary care physician come out and answer questions?
As reported yesterday, consultation with this group, I recommended we bring the president up to Walter Reed as a precautionary measure to provide state-of-the-art monitoring and any care that he may need. Just 72 hours into the diagnosis now, the first week of COVID, and in particular days 7 to 10, are the most critical in determining the likely course of this illness. At this time, the team and I are extremely happy with the progress the president has made. Thursday, he had a mild cough and some nasal congestion and fatigue, all of which are now resolving and improving. At this time, I'd like to bring up Dr. Dooley to discuss some of the...
By the way, Dr. Connolly and all these folks know that people's symptoms have vacillated quite heavily during COVID-19, that you're fine one day and not the other, and then people take a turn for the worse fairly quickly. Yeah, guys, you won't be able to see the video because I've got Johnny up in the feed. Let me see if I can, I'll bring it up for this part. Hold on.
Specifics of the president's care.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I'm Dr. Sean Dooley, as Dr. Conley mentioned.
Dr. Dooley? Really?
I'll start off by mentioning what an incredible, how incredibly proud I am of our medical team assembled behind me, and the honor it's been to care for the president over these last 24 hours here at Walter Reed. He's receiving outstanding multidisciplinary care, the state of the science for coronavirus infection. We are monitoring him very closely for any evidence of complications from either the coronavirus illness or the therapies that we are prescribing to make him better.
Okay, the therapies, plural. We do know at this point that he has received a cocktail of antibodies from one of the pharmaceutical companies, Regeneron, that has been, they've been fast tracking stuff. The treatment that the president specifically is getting from them is not one of the fast tracked treatments. It's quote unquote very promising, but the studies around it are very limited. So it's very curious that that's the first thing they injected him with. And that was at the White House. The weird part for me, and the part that they will have to answer to at some point, and we'll get through all this kind of, everybody's going to be backseat driving, and every possible missed piece of information is going to be, looked at with a, like a dog hearing someone, sing opera. So much of this doesn't make sense right away. The timeline is terrible. We'll talk about that too. But the fact that the first treatment the president got was not part of Operation Warp Speed. If any of you have been following along.
Captain's log.
That's our Operation Warp Speed special sound effect. That's the theme song for Operation Warp Speed. But
How'd it go again?
Operation Warp Speed.
Captain's log.
So, in Operation Warp Speed, the Regeneron antibody treatment, was not part of that. And it's curious that, I mean, we're all, well, we'll get to what he's not taking in just a moment. But yeah, you want to guess? So here we go.
We have monitored his cardiac function, his kidney function, his liver function. All of those are normal. And the president this morning is not
normal for him or normal for a healthy adult?
On oxygen, not having difficulty breathing or walking around the White House medical unit upstairs.
He is not on oxygen today. By the way, Herman Cain was up and walking around for the first 5 days he was symptomatic. Can we just clarify that for the record? He wasn't having trouble breathing the first 3 days that he was positive. He had mild symptoms.
He's in exceptionally good spirits, and in fact, as we were completing our multidisciplinary rounds this morning, the quote he left us with was, "I feel like I could walk out of here today," and that was.
Yeah, no. A lot of people say that, and then they go home and die. No. Yeah. He's always going to say that. Even if that's the problem with this president.
He probably genuinely feels like that.
But if he didn't, and it was just ego, you wouldn't know. That's the problem with Donald John Trump as a human being.
Very encouraging comment from the president. Moving forward, I'll go ahead and introduce Dr. Garibaldi, who will talk about some of our therapeutics and the plan of care for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dooley, and I'd like to echo the sentiment from the entire team. What an honor and a privilege it is to be part of this multidisciplinary unit to care for the president. About 48 hours ago, the president received a special antibody therapy directed against the coronavirus, and we're working very closely with the company to monitor him in terms of that outcome. Yesterday evening, he received his first dose of IV remdesivir, and our plan is to continue a 5-day treatment course for remdesivir. And the big plan for today, since he's in such great spirits and doing well, is to encourage him to eat, to drink, to stay hydrated, to be up out of bed, and to be working and doing the things that he needs to do to get well. And I'll refer Dr. Connolly to any.
Yeah, the things he needs to do to get well is not working. A man of his age who has this needs to rest, stay hydrated. They can get him moving around. But yeah.
Questions?
Thanks, Brian. It's important to note the president's
Thanks, Brian.
been fever-free for over 24 hours. We remain cautiously optimistic.
The being febrile, as much as they have talked about this, meaning having a fever, is not indicative of COVID infection. And it's one of the ways that Dr. Birx's BS about it being an influenza-like illness, the ILI tracking system that they've been talking about, is completely ineffective when you're talking about COVID, because some people's fevers vacillate, and they only run the fever when they're in when their body is in the process of getting ready to shut down.
But he's doing great.
Yeah.
With that, one other note. It should be clear that he's got plenty of work to get done from the chief of staff. And he's doing it.
We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the HalSparks radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT820.com, and of course, twitch.tv/HalSparks, where you can come and join the chat with us. And on this historic day where the president is hospitalized for a hoax. We'll be back. This is, yeah. All right. My computer is limping this. Not quite sure why. Very. figure it out in just 1 moment. Hey, Johnny, can you see if you can find a running track of who's got COVID right now? Like who's the most recent? Because I know Chris Christie and Ron Johnson were just announced. Somebody has a running list that I could throw to you, and you could keep us up to date.
Let's see.
Sorry, somebody go back. Okay, I need to equalize my audio. Okay, cool. I did a little bit of a fix, so we'll see. Be all right. Check 1, check 2. The problem I have is this. Is the meters on Streamlabs are acting weird. I can't quite tell what's real. Don't know, man. I'm in a puzzle trapped in an enigma.
Back in 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Time is a flat circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gonzo said Chris Christie will not do well with COVID. Yeah, he's definitely...
Especially after his surgery.
Mm-mm. President's vitals.
This is Doris Davenport, host of The Doris Davenport Show. All local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So, Sarah Cook just posted, she's a White House producer for CBS News, breaking the president's vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, and the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care. We're still not on a clear path to a full recovery. A source familiar with the president's health said this to Pool reporters. So this wasn't, they came back and this was chit chat. So we're hearing a bunch of sunshine nonsense, quite frankly, right now from this, from Dr. Connolly.
With that, if there's a couple questions about the president's health in the last couple days.
Sir, can you tell us
In the last couple of days. Don't ask me about his diet and exercise regimen or the idea that he thinks you run out of heartbeats.
Oxygen saturation level, please.
Yeah, so the last saturation that we had up walking around, he was about 96%.
And he's receiving he has not received any supplemental oxygen?
He's not on oxygen right now, that's right.
What? Wait. That's not what he asked you. He asked you, has he received any supplemental oxygen? He said he's not on oxygen right now. That doesn't mean you're not putting him on oxygen when he's lying down. They may be walking him around so he's not on oxygen while it's happening.
He has not received any at all?
He's not needed any this morning today at all. That's right. No, he's
not needed any this morning today at all. Just because he hasn't needed it, and by the way, according to who? His discomfort level or what you think is best practice? Like, this is such wiggle room.
Do you have an estimated date when he might be discharged?
Well, I don't want to put a hard date on that. He's doing so well, but with a known course of the illness, days 7 to 10, we get really concerned about the inflammatory phase 2. Given that we provided some of these advanced therapies so early in the course, a little bit earlier than most of the patients we know and follow, it's hard.
Americans
tell where he is on that course, and so every day we're evaluating: does he need to be here? What does he need? And where's he going?
What do you see as the probability that he will need supplemental oxygen going forward?
I don't want to put a percentage on that, but right now all indicators are that he'll remain off of oxygen going forward.
And in terms of like blood clots, pneumonia, bacterial infection, what do you see as the risk on that front?
Well, we know that all of them are risks associated with this condition. He is receiving all of the standard of care and beyond per routine, international COVID protocols. So we're monitoring for all of that, but at the moment, there's no cause for concern.
You said he's fever-free now. What was his fever when he had one, sir?
I'd rather not give any specific numbers, but he
Oh, why not?
did have a fever Thursday into Friday, and since Friday morning, he's had none.
Okay. And what was the date?
That's because you have him on fever reducers. Anyone with a child knows it's a matter of that fever has to be gone for a couple of days. Just because you're muting the effects of the fever, which, by the way, isn't necessarily good. If they're giving him stuff to lessen his fever, cooking this thing out has helped a lot of people.
On top of the other antibodies.
I'm sorry?
Why remdesivir on top of the antibodies?
So remdesivir works a little bit differently than the antibodies. We're maximizing all aspects of his care, attacking this virus, multi-pronged approach. As the president, I didn't want to hold anything back. If there was any possibility that it would add value to his care and expedite his return, I wanted to take it. And the team agreed, and that's why we proceeded.
Doctor, what was the date of the president's last negative test?
I'm not going to get into all the testing going back.
Because it was before the debate. Because the timeline is garbage. The whole Trump team showed up on the honor system, according to Chris Wallace, and did not do the Cleveland Clinic's tests. The assumption was that everybody who arrived at the debate had already been tested. The Biden team got tested there. The Trumps did not.
But he and all the staff routinely are tested, and so.
Doctor, what is the PPE protocol for President Trump receiving visitors and doctors?
It's the same as any hospital has. We have an area that's clean that you put your equipment on, and then beyond that, everybody is fully gowned up, masks, gloves. We're protecting ourselves and him.
Have you done a screen? Has there been any sign of any lung damage whatsoever?
We are following.
They're not. They haven't done X-rays on him yet. They're going to. Bet you that's tomorrow.
Doing all of that, we do daily ultrasounds, we do daily lab work. The team is tracking all of that.
Has there been any sign of damage, sir?
I'm not going to go into specifics on what the findings of any of that are.
If we just put you down on one thing, has he ever been on supplemental oxygen?
Right now, he is not on
I understand.
oxygen.
I know you keep saying
That's
right now, but should we read into the fact that he had been previously?
Yesterday and today, he was not on oxygen.
So he has not been on it during his COVID treatment?
He's not on oxygen right now.
Has hydroxychloroquine been considered as a
They gave him oxygen at the White House. That's basically what we can infer from that.
type of treatment option for the president?
We discussed
because he was having trouble breathing. And this whole back and forth about, he said nasal congestion. They've been talking about chest congestion, a cough. That's the scary part.
He asked about it. He's not on it now.
And in terms of symptoms, has he also experienced difficulty breathing?
No, he has not. Never did. He had a little cough. He had the fever. More than anything, he's felt run down.
Who is handling contact tracing? Is that the White House or CDC?
The White House Medical Unit, in conjunction with in collaboration with CDC and local, state, and health departments, are conducting all contact tracing per CDC guidelines.
When was the positive diagnosis made? You said 72 hours. That would put that Wednesday.
Yeah. So Thursday afternoon, following the news of a close contact, is when we repeated testing. And given kind of clinical indications, that a little bit more concern, and that's when late that night we got the PCR confirmation that he was.
Is there any clarity on how he became infected?
Not going to go into that as far as his care.
Yeah, because you don't want to point out the fact that it was Amy Coney Barrett's gathering. That's the primary reason why they think
it's
irrelevant.
Or when?
No, it's incredibly relevant to everyone else who's catching this disease.
He became infected?
Yeah, we're not going to go into that. We're just tracking his clinical course and providing the best care we can.
Will President Trump have to stay at Walter Reed to get the 5-day remdesivir treatment?
We've discussed that right now. If he needs all 5 days, that will likely be the course. But again, every day we're reviewing with the team his needs for being here. And as soon as he gets to the point where it's not a requirement, He may still need some care, but we can provide that downtown at the house.
This is, clearly they're tap dancing around this. This is clearly a situation
they have
where
specific shut that down talking points.
Yeah, just so that they themselves can kind of avoid the making the president look bad, setting up a situation where if he does recover fairly quickly, he's going to want to go back out and campaign quickly. They're going to try and make. They think this is like whipping your spaceship around the sun to use its gravity. That if they can, if he can get back on his feet in the next 10 days, through and get through this okay, and he's still got some generalized energy, then they're assuming that he's going to be able to, he'll be able to do some rallies or something like that, and he will be effectively immune to it, is the idea. So he won't have to worry anymore about getting it himself. So that'll allow him to press the flesh and be closer to people than other folks. I mean, if I was more cynical, I would think this was an example of them, some extreme version of herd immunity that he insisted on. Just give it to me so I can get through it, and we'll do this, because we know you'll survive it, sir. That kind of craziness. Maud Kristen is asking where the Birx and Fauci is. When we come back, more from the president's doctor, and then of course an updated list per Johnny Million of the of who from that event and the ancillary gatherings has tested positive, and those those folks that are in the president's circle. So we'll be back right after this. It's the HalSparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's progressive talk, AM 820. Yeah, there's John Mahoney in our chat says pretty telling that they have 4 pulmonologists out there. Yeah, any decent doctor would tell him to hand over power temporarily because he needs to rest and have zero stress. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Or whip around Uranus. I think they're going to try that next week. That's how they get the light bulb in. Hi, Katie. And Can't Stop Lying, good to see you. Fauci is staying far away from these idiots. That's from Gonzo. Were any Democrats at the Rose Garden announcement of Amy Coney Barrett? Was it only Republicans? It's pretty much only Republicans that I know of. And if there were any, more than likely they would have been the ones wearing masks. So. Yeah. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's hard to not just see it all as a bunch of propaganda or PR BS.
I know that was the scariest part.
That's the tough part of all of this, is just that I don't buy it. So many people don't buy it. It's just ridiculous.
Has remained where it's historically been, growing our physicals.
Back in 30 seconds.
Thank you. Wouldn't matter if Dems had masks, they can catch it. That's true. Well, the masks help immensely. And a lot of times it's about the viral dose that you get. If you're around somebody and they have it, and let's say they touch you, but you wash your hands fairly quickly, or it's a garment and you take that garment off and it sits for a few days, the viral load of what survives on the surface of your clothes and other stuff is much lower than, of course, if you get a direct dose of it from someone's breath or the droplets, the aerosolized droplets.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
So currently, Johnny Million, do you have a list of the most recent, like the up-to-date list on this?
It's per Ballotpedia.
Okay.
Ballotpedia.org, and it looks like the most recent one was the one that you mentioned at the top, was Ron Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He tested positive, and it was today that came out. Yesterday, Mike Lee from Utah.
Right.
he announced that he tested
he was at the
positive.
super spreader event. There's plenty of video of him glad handing and backslapping and hugging and, holding his mask in his fist while he talks to people and hugs them.
Tom Tillis of North Carolina.
Yep. Also
Donald Trump,
also president.
all in the second. And then there's a gap. Then it goes down to Johanna Hayes. She's in the House from Connecticut. Jennifer Gonzalez Colon back in August, and then we start getting into August and July with other notable ones being Louis Gohmert.
Right. Kellyanne Conway's tested positive. We know that. We found that out from her daughter, who put it out on TikTok.
Her daughter on TikTok is a force of nature.
Yeah, well, she literally just put out a picture of her. She's just at an event. You can see her. It's just her face. She's wearing a mask, and it says, "My mom has COVID," and then starts playing like WAP or something. It was the weirdest, yeah. So, Sungmin Kim is saying a White House official has cleared up the timeline from Walter Reed Newser. Connolly meant to say it's day 3 of the diagnosis, not 72 hours. Trump's diagnosis was Thursday night. Regeneron was administered 2 days ago, not 48 hours ago. So there's no direct hourly timeline. This is from, here we go. So
Pressure and temperature.
By the way, this is also the doctor that says he's an inch taller than he is, and he is not morbidly obese.
So his heart rate is in the 70s to 80s. His blood pressure has remained where
in the 70s to 80s. Is that his resting heart rate? Because that's not good. If
that's pretty high for someone his age.
Yeah, and we're to assume that if he says 70s to 80s, we're not talking about 72 to 81. We're talking 78 to 89. Why would we assume otherwise?
It's historically been during our physicals.
So it's always been jacked up.
110 to 120s to stop.
Because he's always on uppers.
Never budged. I've had no concerns there.
So why was the decision made to transfer him here?
Because he's the president of the United States.
And obviously, if doctors have found
the
prone position is helpful for COVID, has he been in that at all?
No, he asked about that. He did. Thursday into Friday.
Are you gonna lay me face down? Can I see? Can you put a TV? Can you get a massage table with a hole in it and put a Fox News underneath the table so I can just watch it laying down? It is pretty much my dream.
He's been briefed.
Yeah, and everybody in the chat is saying 70 to 80 after medication.
Yeah.
By the task force and all the scientists for months. And he brought that up, as we were discussing his cough. And at that time, his oxygen levels were okay, and we didn't feel like we needed to do it. We came up here, we discussed it with the team as well. We consider all options, but he has not needed any of that.
Why wasn't the First Lady admitted as well?
The First Lady's doing great. Thanks for asking.
So the president isn't doing great, is what you're saying.
Has no indication for hospitalization, advanced therapy. She's convalescing at home. Thank you.
I'm going to try to pin you down one more time. I know you said there was
he's not on oxygen.
But did he receive
today?
Did he receive any on Thursday?
And what's today? Saturday?
Saturday.
No, Thursday.
Okay, so no Thursday, no Friday, no Saturday. That's fine.
So
that was why we were confused.
Thursday, no oxygen, none at this moment. Yeah, and yesterday with the team, while we were all here, he was not on oxygen.
See that? See that little part? While we were all here, he was not on oxygen.
That's a weird caveat.
That is super weird. First of all, that means that, while he was just there, he was on oxygen. And then once you started bringing people in to check him, you took him off oxygen to run some tests for a while. And then whenever half the people left, he went back to bed and he was on oxygen overnight. And right now he's not. So they're basically giving him oxygen while he sleeps.
So has the president actually been admitted as a patient to this hospital?
The president is a patient at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center.
Is he on any steroids? Press, thank you.
Can you ask that
Thank you very much.
Last question. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Whoa, that was it. Is he on any steroids? Last question. And then they just walked out.
That was Dr. Sean Conley, president.
Dr. Sean Connolly, coming down there, my friend. Do you expect me to talk? No. So this is, Sungmin Kim was talking about how they cleared up that day 3 of the diagnosis, not 72 hours, which means it gives them to the night before an entire 24 hours to Wednesday midnight, after midnight Wednesday, instead of the whole, 11:59 on Thursday night when he finds out, and an hour later he, which also looks like them pushing it. Mark Meadows also talks to the reporters. We'll take that as well in the next hour. He actually said, he came out to give sort of the first statement from the White House yesterday. He wasn't wearing a mask. His excuses about why he's wearing a mask were embarrassing. Chat room is now saying, this is all moving at the same time, that White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is the source to press, saying Trump's vitals were worse than the statement by Connolly. Gonzo in our chat saying melatonin brings down the heart rate. I think, the fact that he was on melatonin in a lot of ways, there's a lot of reasons why melatonin, especially at his age, is a good idea when you are traveling to different time zones and it messes with your circadian rhythm, so you can't, the president has trouble sleeping, as we know, anyways. So this is, that I found more like something that his doctors put in for his benefit, not something that he would request. That sounds like something that would come from a suggestion from Ivanka more than a medical team, quite frankly. But throughout all this, there's there's multiple reasons to believe that we are not being told the truth by this doctor. There are multiple reasons to believe that the president's saying the timeline of when he supposedly got sick versus when he got, found out he was positive is so fast that and considering the arc of this disease, the 4 to 5 day lead up that it often has during exposure and from exposure to symptomatic, when people are indeed symptomatic, and the days before when they are spreading the virus but are asymptomatic, is fairly well known, as much as there is a fluctuation in all this as we've gone along. And it's fairly terrible that we all have to be in a situation where we can't believe this president and his handlers in any of these circumstances where everything is suspect. And even the story that he just said about the oxygen, he's not on oxygen right now. He wasn't there when the whole team was present. There's a ton of obvious linguistic ambiguities that they are throwing into this that you can't help but notice. And again, this goes to this president's ego and his fearfulness about appearing weak in front of both the American people and his followers, or bad poll numbers, or, at this point, he probably looks at his heart rate like it's a Nielsen rating. What, can we get that higher? Is there any way to get it higher? The New England Patriots quarterback also just tested positive. Cam Newton, right? There's a lot of word juggling going on here, and everyone can be forgiven for parsing every single word. And the fact that in the chat room is going, the president doesn't want to appear weak, which is why some people were even, is he faking this? Is this all just a strategy for the election? Is he just making this up? And there are two reasons why I feel that is not the case. One is, three. One is the president is enormously unhealthy as a human being. He's got a terrible diet. He doesn't exercise. He keeps himself up at all hours. His alleged use of stimulants would make his immune system even weaker. So the idea that they would play around with that is very dangerous. That he would, even hanging out at Walter Reed as a way of hiding for a time is not healthy for him. We're gonna take a break. We got a break for some ads in the news. When we come back, we'll go to Mark Meadows' statement about this. I want to hear what he said and see where it contradicts with the president. But the other big reasons why this president is not fake is that they went to Walter Reed. If he was faking, he would have stayed at the residence with Melania. They would have convalesced together. He would live tweet Fox News all day, and they would show him with a little putter in his office, relaxing and trying to heal. The minute they took him to Walter Reed, this got incredibly serious. We'll be back.
Yeah.
Whoa. I gotta find this on Twitter. Update. Immediately after the press conference ended and before the anonymous statement was sent out, Mark Meadows briefed reporters without cameras, but he was caught on a feed asking to be off the record.
Oh.
Whoops. Yeah, I think I'll do calls today, although, there's so much audio to deal with. This seems more like a rhetorical news day. Because I feel like all it's gonna do is introduce more speculation. You know what I mean? So crazy. Jackie Schechner says, now I want to know when that stupid 18-second video was taped. Yeah, that was also weird. I think
Jackie's in the chat?
Yeah, no, she's on my Twitter feed. Saying the doctor is slightly, saying that Trump is slightly overweight immediately ruins the credibility of the doctor. Yeah, okay, here it is. This is Olivia Nunzi put this out. Nunzi? Yeah, Nunzi. If there's audio solid on this. And even this, if that's the case, if they told everybody, hey, he was really bad, that just sounds like they know he's going to get better, so they want it to look like he had a miraculous recovery.
Right.
I have 10. Okay, so who...
Obviously, back in 30 seconds.
So if we can go off the record with some of y'all and get away from the cameras, I'd be glad to.
Whoops.
My bad. We got way more commercials.
Yeah, as a whole, yeah, we got 3 minutes or something like that. Yeah, approximately. I'll bring the audio up on this thing and we'll do this. There were 100 people at the Bedminster event that paid $250,000 to be at the Bedminster event. And all of them are in danger of dying right now. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Gonna get gnarly. His doc says he weighs 244. I weigh 210 at 5'7". I'm calling BS, right? Think they want their money back? Well, they're not going to get it. CNN reporting that they got an anonymous letter saying it's worse than they are saying. I don't know why you would report an anonymous letter unless it was from a source you know. Yeah. Does anybody know how Generalissimo Francisco Franco is doing right now? Yeah. he and Khrushchev are playing tennis. The letter is probably more accurate than the story. Yeah, we'll see. Get any detail on that as well. So this is so. I mean, why would you? I mean, why would you run with an anonymous letter unless somebody gave it to you on the down low and you know it's verified somehow? That seems like a reach.
30 seconds for real this time.
Okay, cool. Don't see that in there, but okay. Oh, I don't doubt that we're hearing from Meadows. Absolutely. Bring this up.
You're listening to the HalSparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at HalSparks.com.
I don't care for you if the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Plus Facebook,
Stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show. So as we've been following along, the president's physician and an army of specialists came out and gave a short, brief, and relatively cryptic address to the press. Took very few questions. And when they did, it bounced around kind of uselessly for a little bit. It seems like a lot of rosy talk. Immediately after that, a statement was circulated that the president his vitals over the last couple days have been incredibly concerning, and it is very serious. No, I don't know the exact source of that, but Olivia Newsy is let's see. This is the follow-up from her Twitter feed. A source familiar with the president's health tells the White House pool the president's vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, and the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care. We're still not on a clear path to full recovery. This anonymous quote was sent to the White House pool reporters. It arrived in my inbox and the inboxes of other reporters who cover this White House. I do not know where the quote came from and why this anonymous person has the authority to contradict the president's doctors. Context. Behind the scenes, the White House has been fighting with reporters who have shared information from anonymous sources since we learned about Trump's illness. But as you can see, the White House is sharing information from anonymous sources with us too. The press and the public are struggling with this fundamental problem. We do not know who we can trust to receive reliable information about the health of the President of the United States. Update. Immediately after the press conference ended and before the anonymous statement was sent out, Mark Meadows briefed reporters without cameras, but he was caught on a feed asking to be off record. And this is, if you listen up, this is him with these reporters all getting, they're all getting their phones out, and then as soon as he starts talking, they start putting more.
I have 10. Okay, so who...
Obviously, the cameras are still rolling, so if we can go off the record with some of y'all and get away from the cameras, I'd be glad to.
He said, obviously the Huh? What'd you say, Johnny?
Did he say, so if we could go off record with some of y'all?
Yes. He said, obviously the cameras are still rolling, so if we could go off record with some of y'all and get away from these cameras. And then that's when they left. So we have the chief of staff on camera anonymously providing contradictory information to reporters right after the president's doctors briefed the public. And if Mark Meadows is the anonymous source, I mean, they are. There's every reason to believe that they're planting fake news half the time as well. Mark Meadows is no friend of the press, and aside from his ridiculous little show about being the president's lackey, and the president's always got a ton of things for me to do, and he's always yelling at me to get on the ball, and all those little stories he says. Aside from those little, asides, there's no reason to believe any of this, quite frankly. That both what the president's doctor is saying or this. And this scattershot of information may be very well the point. To mangle all the details as much as possible. And that's really scary. That might be the possible strategy of this White House. It's horrifying that they may go with the Steve Bannon flood the end zone with excrement leading up to it, to both hide the real threat that the president is facing and also make his recovery, if they believe it inevitable or if it happens at all, to look more miraculous by planting stories that he's worse off right now than he actually is. AP source says President Trump was administered supplemental oxygen at the White House on Friday before going to the hospital. Okay, that's precisely what I said. That's from Bethesda. Even though the doctor said he is not currently on oxygen, the AP says he got it at the White House. Now, they may be giving him oxygen just out of an abundance of caution because of his age. And that's the crazy part about this. There is nothing wrong with that. Taking extra precautions because he's the president of the United States and going, you know what, the minute, it might be an overreaction on our part.
Yeah, that's the company line for all of it. Like, if you're overreacting, it's because it's the president. That was close.
That was very close. That was Blazing Saddles close. Yeah. But it's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it gives you so much leeway to treat this president with everything that you need, with everyone knowing that, the president, there's nothing in the president's chart that says to me he needs supplemental oxygen. But out of an abundance of caution, for the same reason we brought him here to Walter Reed, we gave him supplemental oxygen just to keep his numbers up, because we need him, he's the president of the United States. He's got to be firing on all cylinders. And if he's fighting an infection of any sort, we're going to make sure that his body has every possible resilient, form of every weapon at his disposal. So, this is, Derek Thompson has posted a kind of timeline as well. Throughout all of this, there is the timeline is the most crucial thing, because we're looking at the idea that the president tested positive Thursday and late at Thursday night, and they did these tests not because he was feeling bad, but because Hope Hicks had been exposed, and they did it because it's standard operating procedure, right? Okay, first of all, why the president is not tested on a schedule every morning is beyond me. But especially in the case where Hope Hicks was pulled off of Marine One. So this is the aggregate timeline so far as we know it. Tuesday, Trump and his team arrive late to the Cleveland Clinic for the debate. They arrive too late to get tested, and they refuse to follow the mask-wearing protocol. So the whole family is there. They're not wearing masks. Melania wears the mask, but she takes it off when she goes on stage. She now has it as well. Wednesday, midday, Trump tests positive. And this is the middle of the day, Wednesday. Trump tests positive and is diagnosed with COVID. Biden team is not contacted, and no information is shared with the press. Wednesday afternoon, Trump goes to Minnesota for a rally and a fundraiser at a prominent donor's house. Hope Hicks feels sick. She's the one who gets symptoms. They quarantine her aboard Air Force One. Thursday, Hope is diagnosed with COVID. after, by the way, Trump has already tested positive days before. And Trump begins, this is Thursday, begins experimental treatment per Dr. Connolly. Then he travels to the New Jersey Golf Club and meets 18 donors in an indoor roundtable without masks. White House sources later say he appears tired. Friday at 1 a.m., news breaks that Trump tests positive. In the next 36 hours, Kellyanne Conway, Bill Stepien, his campaign manager, and by the way, there is no deputy campaign manager that can step into Bill Stepien's place because he was arrested this week for threatening his wife, beating her, allegedly threatening to kill himself. He was put on a 72-hour psych watch and is being arrested on weapons charges. He fired a gun inside the house. This is the sitting president's deputy campaign manager. This was this week. And now his campaign manager has tested positive, which eliminates his, I mean, there's all that glad handing for the next 2 weeks from Bill Stepien. He can do a lot of things digitally, but, these folks pride themselves on doing it person to person. Chris Christie is positive. Mike Lee is positive. Tom Tillis is positive. The Notre Dame president is positive. Kellyanne Conway's daughter drops the news that she's positive on TikTok. The amazing part of this is that Trump more than likely tested positive on Tuesday, and they retested him again on Wednesday, and it was another positive, and they just kept pretending it would go away and figured maybe he's asymptomatic and we'll just blow it off. And won't it be cool if we could just tell everybody he tested positive and he's fine, he was fine. It'll be a hero's journey. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the HalSparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. 773-763-9278 is our call-in number. I'm curious if you buy it. If the storyline itself doesn't sound hinky to you. You say hinky. We'll be back. Hard not to be tweeting up a storm. I think we're all this is one of those shows where everybody is watching the show or listening, but also on Twitter and also got the news on in the background. Yeah, where is Bill Barr?
Oh yeah, that guy.
Aw, Narc, thank you. I'm glad to be mobile with you. Yeah, this is so crazy. Worried Trumpy gets sympathy votes. Well, that's, I don't think anybody's going to do that. Again, I think there's reason to believe that they may be able to think they can spin this, but there's a big portion of this. Fix the audio; it's all crackly. Let me swap my. It might be the software. Loopback just becomes a.
It didn't sound crackly to me.
Nope. It's sometimes it's the way it goes out to the streaming software. Thank you, Christina FF. Look at that. He was mingling with Kellyanne at the COVID party. Yeah, William Barr is, one of those folks who I think he's probably next on the list. It'd be kind of amazing. Does this sound better? Does this sound okay? Audio-wise? I just swapped my mic. Yeah. Well, ride safely.
Are those, is your mic like a Bluetooth mic?
Coming back in 15 seconds.
Yeah, but it's the Thank you. It's the loopback software that I use to split it and make it go everywhere. It needs an update. There's something wonky about it.
Oh, I wasn't trying to troubleshoot. I was just curious about the mic.
Yes, it's the Pico Stream and it rules. This thing is amazing. I used it to, these little guys, they come right off. And then yeah. Welcome back to the show. So this is, this story breaking that the president's vitals over the last 24 hours were very worrisome, and the next 48 hours will be critical, possibly coming from Mark Meadows, in a lot of ways makes them even more suspect, and makes it makes me feel like they know he's going to be fine, and so they're trying to play it up like make it look even more heroic. But right now, as the list goes, the people who have tested positive in the last 36 hours are Donald Trump, Melania Trump, Hope Hicks, Mike Lee, Tom Tillis, Kellyanne Conway, Bill Stepien, Ronna McDaniel, John L. Jenkins, Chris Christie, and Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. Ron Johnson, who spent the 4th of July in Russia last year with Vladimir Putin, okay? The 4th of July. The 4th of July. The 4th of July, you're going to go meet with the 4th. You're going to go, your senator, Wisconsin, you're cool with your senator spending the 4th of July with Vladimir Putin. Really? Okay. So, so far, Mike Pence, Karen Pence, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, Amy Coney Barrett, they keep saying she tested negative, but if she's already had it, it's such an odd thing. And Joe Biden, and then Mark Meadows has tested negative. They are doing a sort of a tracking and tracing. So there people that are on the watch list for this that have not been tested. We have not heard about Ben Carson or Brian Kemp, who were with him on an event last Friday. Todd Ricketts, who's a fundraiser, and Tommy Hicks Jr., who's an RNC co-chairperson. Ronna McDaniels, of course, has tested positive. Let's see. Yeah. Pat Cipollone, White House counsel, Tiffany Trump, and Josh Hawley have not been tested, or at least have not given information about the fact that they are tested. The amazing part of this being, that, and we are, let's see, debate representative, okay, as of Sunday, September 27th, Rudy Giuliani had tested negative. Now we don't currently know. Brett Giroir, the assistant health secretary, he's not been tested, or at least we don't know his test status at this point. They were at the coronavirus briefing. Let's see, people are putting, Kimberly Guilfoyle in this zone as well. She has actually already had it, so the theory is that she can't get it again, at least as far as we know. Folks in the chat room, are bringing up a very interesting point about the president blaming Hope Hicks for him catching this, because apparently he's very aware of how close she is to him at any given time, as you would. The woman is striking by every measure. She looks like a mannequin. It's very weird. But the president was saying, well, the military guys and the cops, they want to come up and hug and kiss you because they love what we've done for them. That's what he said on Hannity's show. And how do you say no? And then somehow conflating that Hope, in dealing with them, brought that's how she got it. And he's like, you can't exactly say to them, stay away and all this. Those people are the easiest to say that to, because they are military or police officers. They understand protocols to protect the president more than anyone else. The only reasons that they would not participate in that in any way is because they are on your team as Trump supporters, And they have bought your line that this thing is no big deal. And so the reason you can't stiff arm them because you've been telling them at every press conference that we're turning a corner and it's no big deal and you wear a mask sometimes, but you really don't have to do it. And I'm negative, so who cares? That's the ongoing issue with this. Beyond the fact that he's blaming Hope Hicks for giving it to him, which there's no indication that she got it from, anywhere else but from him. And the fact that he, according to that timeline I just read, tested positive, waited for another test to make sure it was positive, and still went to this Bedminster gathering where the news is that these people are freaking out. That these, the folks that were at this event must be infuriated with this president because of him endangering their lives and while asking them for money. And the weird thing about this whole thing, I think the biggest standout minor detail that nobody seems to notice about the president going to this fundraiser and endangering the lives of his high dollar donors at his own golf course. The weirdest thing I think that I don't think anybody's paying that much attention to is the fact that the reason he did it is not even about his disregard for giving COVID to his fellow Americans. It's because he needs the money. We're 30 days out from the election, and the president couldn't skip a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Because the campaign is effectively broke. The deputy campaign manager was arrested this week.
That was pretty amazing.
And one of the reasons why they think that he may have been threatening self-harm, if indeed he was, and if that doesn't turn out to just be a story to protect himself from the fact that he was abusing his wife, and by throwing that little part in, it makes him look mentally ill as opposed to the creep that I believe it will turn out that he is. Yeah. His wife had bruises on her face and on her arms from his behavior. That the reason he was freaking out for the previous 4 days was because of a $170 million money laundering scheme that's allegedly going on within the campaign and $40 million that are missing.
That's upsetting.
Yeah. And the
That'll
president,
get you your life.
yeah, it's kind of, in any other situation, that's a Watergate level scandal. Yeah. By itself. For crying out loud, they tackled the deputy campaign manager outside his house. The police took him down.
It looked like an episode of Cops.
It was ridiculous. It was 100% Florida man all the time. But think about that for a second. The president had to, we've all worked sick because we couldn't afford to lose the paycheck, right? We've all gone, and maybe when it wasn't even advisable. It's interesting. A lot of people don't realize that actors a lot of times are under an extraordinary amount of pressure to work ill. More so than crew or producers or anybody else on a film crew, because if the sound guy is sick, you can bring in the B-team sound guy until he gets over the flu. But if the actor is sick, production shuts down, and everybody else who is there doesn't go to work. You affect the financial stability of every other person on the production. And so whatever your favorite show is that you've been binging lately, pay attention to the 4 or 5 episodes where a flu or a head cold cascades its way through the cast, and suddenly your favorite character sounds all nasally for a couple episodes. There's a reason for that. It's because they, with the help of an on-set physician, were given everything they possibly could to just keep working. Because, largely, if you stop working, everybody stops working. The camera is pointing at you without something to point at. Everybody's job is useless. So a lot of actors work sick. But in the case of, a president, for example, the presidential duties are so important that you have the vice president and then the Speaker of the House and all these people. If he becomes unable to function, there's a chain of command. Those of you who watch Designated Survivor know this very well. But although that was pretty much the crayons and hammers version of it, because it basically everybody got blown up, so it was like the agriculture secretary or whatever ends up being the president. But and don't curse at me for getting that wrong. It's not my show. It's not something I watched a lot of. But the point is, the president, as president, can't skip a lot of his duties. He can stay off Twitter and stay off camera for a few days and convalesce in bed if he's got the flu, and have meetings in there and have his, all of his people that, his cabinet secretaries join him either virtually or in person if they're not too concerned about getting the flu or they've already had their flu shot. They can continue the functions of the presidency. But campaigning is a coin flip. Unless you need the money. Unless you desperately need the money. Think about the planning and the back and forth questions about whether or not to go through with this fundraiser, knowing that Hope had just tested positive, knowing that it was cascading through the group. Whatever we know, they knew 24 hours prior minimum. Yep. Minimum. And if they didn't, if we found out as soon as they found out, that's embarrassing. I expect a level of coordinated secrecy within the functioning government in my country, because I don't need a reality show where it's just spilled all the time. It's okay for them to coordinate a message if there's some sort of crisis, if they have the time to do it, and they certainly do. But they certainly knew at least 24 hours beforehand. But it's not the president, Donald John Trump, that caused the most trouble in that 24 hours. It's the candidate, Donald John Trump, that caused the problem. The guy who went to the debate with with an obvious positive result from a COVID test, and then went to a fundraiser because his campaign, 30 days out, the incumbent president of the United States, who believes he is winning by a landslide according to his internal polls, and has tens of thousands of people who allegedly show up at his events, even though many of them are the same people, needs money so badly, he endangers the lives of 18 of his highest dollar donors at his own club. This isn't at some weird, hotel somewhere where they can pretend that they all met there, and then somebody, the salmon moose, where they didn't know where the illness came from. It's his club. It's embarrassing. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the HalSparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Stunning new info about Trump's COVID timeline suggests he put more people at risk, according to CNN right now. Last night I was up. I'm exhausted, but last night I was up till ass in the morning watching, Chris Cuomo talking to Sanjay Gupta about this, and Cuomo's big hang-up was something that had been bothering me. It's why I got, because I was flipping channels. Once I'd watched all the MSNBC shows and they'd gone to, Scott Peterson, whether or not he's a murderer stories. I went to watch how Fox was handling this. And watch how CNN was handling this. And the big hang-up from Chris Cuomo seems to be how in the hell did they not know Wednesday? Thanks, Katie. Yeah, I mean, I'm exhausted. I'm definitely tired today. Chris Wallace said in his interview about the toss, said, just wear the damn mask live on air. Yeah. How plus Biden pulls his Trump. Yeah. Yeah, Biden pulled his attack ads. Trump did not. Of course, that's because Trump only has attack ads. What's he gonna put up? A list of accomplishments right now? The man was adding 50% fewer jobs than Jimmy Carter before the pandemic. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if those big dollar donors he infected will pull back their donations. Too late. That money was spent the second it dropped. Those guys, and they pay for those seats ahead of time. Trump tweeted, doctors, nurses, and all the great Walter Reed Medical Center and others likewise, incredible institutions have joined them, are amazing. Tremendous progress has been made over the last 6 months in fighting this plague. With their help, I am feeling well.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the mega worldwide radio program with Hal Sparks.
So Trump has tweeted again. Last night it was doing great, I think.
That's what he said. Doing great, I think.
I think, yeah. And Trump released an 18-second video before he got on the helicopter. They put it out on his Twitter feed. The odd part, I mean, there's a lot odd about it, but I'll bring it up because he looks awful. He sounds awful. And he looks, he's turning gray. It was very weird that some people were saying his skin looked gray, whatever. First of all, he was, he didn't have his orange makeup on, so maybe that's why he looked relatively normal in all this. But I want to find his actual. There he is. I'll find his. This is from his actual feed. The president of the United States has tweeted last night. Going well, I think. Thank you to all. Love. That was last night. And then today, just now, doctors, nurses, and all the great, and this is all, all is capitalized, great is capitalized, Walter Reed Medical Center, and others from likewise incredible institutions who have joined them are amazing. Tremendous progress has been made over the last 6 months in fighting this plague. With their help, I am feeling well. And then, well, that's what anybody on oxygen will tell you. And then this is the video that he posted.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
What a weird statement. They're going to Walter Reed. He says this. This was supposedly released 19 hours ago when they took him. And what you're going to be seeing, by the way, if you ask me, the tweet from 14 hours ago, the going well, I think, thank you to all, love one is him. My guess is this most recent tweet is from staff. I'll stand by that assessment because the staff does very well. Does a great job playing stupid when they tweet on his behalf. They intentionally capitalize things that don't need them. They're used to his language. They do it very well. But previous to that,
what a horrible job that would be.
Yeah. So this is on the first. Let's see. I don't know the time. They don't have the time listed on it. But he tweeted, Hope Hicks, who's been working so hard without even taking a small break, has just tested positive for COVID-19. Terrible. First Lady and I are waiting for our test results. In the meantime, we will begin our quarantine process. Okay, at that point, they knew. It's silly. Like, and again, that also looks like they wrote it for him. Tonight, Flotus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together, in all caps, which matches in many ways what Melania put out. They are not together. He is at Walter Reed. She is convalescing at the White House. There's no word on if she's staying separate. Just because she is younger and she's handling this well does not mean it will continue to go that way. Why she is not receiving remdesivir, if it shortens the impact of this, is anybody's guess. I mean, and before that, he's doing standard candidate Trump stuff up until we hit the wall about this stuff. I'm curious. I don't know if we have any calls on there, Paul. That's covering.
We do.
We do. All right.
Yeah.
Let's grab one. See if sonically it works. If we can hear everybody.
First up is Rob from Akron.
Excellent. Hey, Rob. Welcome to the show. Are you there?
Hi, Hal. I appreciate you taking my call.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to remind everybody that while the tax evader in chief is receiving unparalleled care, care that none of us could afford, we're paying for it.
Yep. Yeah.
We're also paying for.
He used up his $750.
Rate case.
Yeah, he used up his $750 on the cost of the syringe and his first half dose of remdesivir. That's it was gone. The cost of the syringe itself and the application. Yeah, I'm not even counting the service of the doctor actually administering it. We'll just assume that. And yes, you were saying about we're paying for his defense against his rape case. We're technically paying for his defense against the slander case that E. Jean Carroll is holding against him. But part of that, the discovery and what they're fighting is the discovery would be, okay, if he's saying it's false and he's slandering her, then part of the discovery is, all right, well, give us DNA because we've got DNA and we think it matches yours. And he refuses to do so. So that's where Bill Barr, in a very bizarre defense of the president, is saying that in denying this and in defaming E. Jean Carroll, he was doing his duty as president, and therefore it is Bill Barr's job to defend him. That in and of itself is a level of insanity in terms of legal interpretation that I find it impossible to wrap my head around. That you would even dare say that the president, in casting aspersions on any American citizen, is somehow doing his duty as the American president. Bizarre.
Well, and lastly, don't forget the court case that he brought to destroy the remnants of the ACA. That still grinds on, and we're paying for that too.
Absolutely. We're and
the whole thing is so unbelievably sick that.
Yeah. Well, and you look at, he's benefiting, again, that goes to what your point about the fact that he's getting taxpayer-funded health care while he's, trying to deny private care protection even from people. I mean, beyond you scrap the ACA, you also scrap Medicare and Medicaid expansion. But beyond that, you also get rid of lifetime caps, or you reinstitute lifetime caps, and you give insurance, again, the ability to get, to dump people who have pre-existing conditions, of which now COVID is one. The president himself, much like Dick Cheney, will benefit from lifetime government health care. And so his total disregard for his own health and well-being makes that price tag far higher than it will be for other presidents in a similar situation. So it's disturbing, but it's not surprising. I don't know that anyone is surprised by this, that he's taking advantage of this. The question becomes now, over the next week, as they keep him in there and they give him remdesivir and he recovers and he comes out of this and he survives it and he shakes it off and goes to these rallies going, I had it and I survived it thanks to the doctors, and doesn't even recognize that A, he endangered a bunch of other people. God forbid any of these other people pass away because they don't have the resources he has. And then he goes to these events and tells people that since he got through it, it's no big deal and we're turning the corner and this is proof because he would have died of it in the spring if he'd have gotten it, but he got it much later.
Least favorite outcome.
Yeah, and then he starts to brag about it without... Yeah. Say again?
If he survives to do that, there will be no recognition like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because he's deserving and the rest of us are just the unwashed masses.
Yeah,
and
it's,
we're not.
I don't think he recognizes that even his followers are going to be looking at this like, well, of course you made it. You have every possible resource available to you. I do not.
Literally an army of doctors.
That's right, yeah. And I felt when the line of doctors came out this morning and stood there that this didn't look good. Because quite frankly, have your statement in, there's a press room, there's a single press room at Walter Reed, just like there is at the White House. You can have people come in there masked up and you know have the press pool tested. If you want to come outside, you can have it in a smaller setting. But just the doctor and his primary people. Really. I mean, it should have just been his primary doctor and Mark Meadows coming out and giving the actual factuals about his current physical state. And it wasn't. They brought out a bunch of people to show, like, look at all the care he's getting, without recognizing the optics of, well, of course he's going to get that because he's the president of the United States. But you're almost rubbing it in the face of his followers and his friends who are now going to be testing positive because they were around this idiot. And making them recognize they're not getting any of those special treatments. They're not getting any of that protection. They're not, and if they have COVID and they go through this, they get remdesivir. Let's say they have it available to them and they do survive it, and they've got the X-rays of their lungs that show that it looks like ground glass and all this stuff. And 2 years from now, they try to get insurance. The fact that they had COVID and got through it is going to show up as a pre-existing condition. And it will be this president who eliminated their ability to be protected in that circumstance and to get insurance even though they had COVID, who will himself, God willing that he survives in this situation, will never have that held against him because he will be provided full government health care by the taxpayer, of which he is not one, the majority of the years that he is here. It is... Yeah, John Mahoney in our chat is saying 4 pulmonologists were there. There were 4 pulmonologists standing behind him. Amazing. So
I know you have other callers, Hal.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump off.
Yeah, appreciate it. No, we're at the break. So thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Absolutely. We got to take a break. Sure. We'll be back right after this. It's the HalSparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. You can support the show through Venmo. There's a little sticker on my show if you want to come and look at that, or paypal.me/HalSparks. Or, of course, you can become a Patreon supporter. Become a Patreon. Think about it. Come on. Price of a cup of coffee a month, or a couple, or 2, or 3, depending on what you can deal with. Patreon.com/HalSparks. We'll be back. Yeah. Trump's doctors. The president is doing very well. Just gross. Wow.
Short break. We're back in 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. The president just tweeted in all caps, "Our great USA wants and needs stimulus. Work together and get it done. Thank you." Okay, cool. Mommy Chicks and I will check that.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now time for the happy ending. Yay!
I suppose there is a little bit of a silver lining to this situation, in that the chance of a stimulus package going through and being finalized, passing the Senate, and actually going into effect is far higher now that the president has tested positive for COVID-19 and cannot campaign and needs some good news. He just tweeted, again, in all caps, "Our great USA wants and needs stimulus. Work together and get it done, period. Thank you," in normal letters with an exclamation point. That's a very Trump thing to type, but I think that's again, there's no reason to believe it's actually him. They will be continually tweeting out on his behalf, as they often do when he's indisposed, to make it look like he's engaged. So there is no reason for us to believe that this is actually him writing this. That said, if it is, it does lay in line with what their plan is going to be. They need the stimulus package to go through now. First of all, the economy is in dire straits. 665,000 jobs returned, which was a slowdown from the previous at 1.5 million. New unemployment is still up. People are running out of funds right as the cold and flu season starts in and of itself. There are a lot of people who are in, evictions are on the horizon. This is bad. And the House passed the HEROES Act. The president and Steve Mnuchin decided to turn this into a urinating contest to see if they could get in some way leverage to lower payments to cover the tax loss by major cities in the United States caused by COVID-19 shutdowns, in an attempt to basically strong-arm them. And also because they're operating with such an enormous deficit, by if they do that, if they recognize the harm done to these major cities in the United States and start helping them to mitigate those costs, that's money they take away from padding the red states to pretend like they give a crap. And so they had to, this is a budgetary choice between money going to red states and blue states, and because again, they are desperate in this election cycle. They are out of money. They have, the Bidens took down their negative ads because the president is in the hospital. Trump did not take down his negative ads because that's all he has. He only has negative ads. There is no positive storyline that the president gets to push. He's literally still ending his rallies when he was having them with "Make America Great Again," because they've been terrible at their own goal. They were on track to add half as many jobs as Jimmy Carter did during his one term. This was in February. The country entered a recession in February. The jobs added back are slowing down. More and more people are feeling the economic crunch from this, and the danger of eviction for people in low-income areas is increasing by the day. And this president now at least recognizes that the stimulus itself going through and managing the fact that the stimulus actually happens. And I guarantee Mnuchin has been given marching orders to tell Nancy Pelosi to green light this stuff. Give us a wink and a nod when, or we'll tear you apart in the news. But we're ready to go with it. Because that's the only thing they have at this point. You think they're going to be able to rouse their base with Don Jr. doing luncheons and Mike Pence touring the country? There's no way. They know this. So they're between a rock and a hard place. Anthony Scaramucci just tweeted, "The story is no longer about POTUS's health. It's about how many he infected along the way despite knowing he was COVID positive. First it was gross negligence, now it's reckless homicide." There is a very strong chance that with all the stuff that he gets, all this, this army of doctors behind him, this round-the-clock care, this, these experimental treatments that the rest of us do not have access to, that still he will have killed one of his own donors in, over the next month or so, and very possibly killed or endangered the lives of some of his biggest supporters in the Senate and his cabinet. This in and of itself, and by the way, if they're going to try and push forward the Amy Coney Barrett hearings in the middle of this, when people on the Judiciary Committee have tested positive, and especially the one who was bringing her around, Mike Lee was bringing her around to meet other senators to get her, to make sure to whip the votes, which they already have. Yeah. Even more insane. Do you think there are any Republicans in the Senate right now that aren't going to rubber stamp Amy Coney Barrett through the process? Are you kidding me? So what are you door-to-dooring her for? But for two reasons. One is you are either wagging your finger in the face of people who think that it's dangerous, and you're basically saying, COVID's over, that's ridiculous, it was all a farce. You're just pushing that point. Or you're intentionally trying to, wipe out your own party. This report just out, everybody's dealing with this in the last 24 hours. Bob Costa says, she was talking to Bob Costa, Alex Witt was talking to Bob Costa. She goes, I want to ask you, Robert, to juxtapose that Biden campaign news offered by Yamiche Alcindor, that what we know about simultaneous campaign fundraising emails sent out by the Trump campaign was really a lot different in tone. This came at the same time that President Obama was wishing President Trump well. Yeah, so Trump and his campaign put all this, just released a Lion Obama campaign letter at the exact same time that Barack and Michelle Obama was wishing him and his wife, the First Lady, a speedy recovery. The campaign, manager, Bill Stepien, being the fact that he has tested positive in the last 30 days. The enormity of that, again, there are so many of these things in isolation that in a normal circumstance it would be overwhelming to a campaign, but now it's just part of a tidal wave. You don't pick out the raindrops that are, in a tidal wave. So while the tone of the email may be brash and taking a punch at the Biden campaign, as usual, as you would see from the Trump campaign, this is a GOP that's entirely on edge about their power in the Senate and about how this campaign that is so reliant on the personality of President Trump to carry them into some of these states, how it will move forward if he's suddenly sidelined for the coming few days, maybe even a few weeks. This is really what they're up against. That they have created a cult of personality, and you take that personality off the table, where does that leave Republicans going forward in all this? And normally I stream Monday through Friday on my Twitch channel and on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook, and you're welcome to come join me. Usually I take Sundays off. I'm going to go out on a limb that nobody in media has a day off over the next week or two at minimum. It's always a big deal running into the last 30 days of an election cycle, especially one as contentious as this, especially where the president was asking the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by in the process of that, was downplaying mail-in voting. The president himself, if he were planning on voting in person, would have to question his ability to do so, and everyone around him who may have been recently exposed, and the rolling timeline that this causes means that a bunch of people in his cabinet who may have been planning on voting in person are going to have to vote by mail so as to not endanger the lives of their fellow Americans. That in and of itself is extraordinary. Every single angle on this is embarrassing and psychotic and nutty, and it will unfold over the next couple of days. And if the president thinks he's walking out of this hospital on Wednesday to much fanfare, to the rally of his supporters as some sort of ubermensch who has managed to survive this, after they put a wall of military physicians behind him to guarantee that outcome for him in a way that other Americans do not get, if this doesn't look like a medical version of let them eat cake at best, that's if he gets out, if the remdesivir works fine with him, if he has no further complications. And there is nothing to say that besides this antibody injection that he got, that Herman Cain didn't get exactly the same treatment. And Herman Cain died and was the same age as the president. The First Lady herself is in the second most endangered category age-wise. We'll see you guys. I'll see you guys definitely tomorrow. Johnny Million, thanks for being with me today, brother, on this crazy day. Appreciate you guys. Thanks everybody in the chat room. Stick around for the post show, and of course, if you're listening on the radio, stick around for Dick K. I'm sure he will have more breaking news as this comes and maybe from some of his inside Chicago sources, which I wouldn't doubt. So we'll see you guys next week. Or on our regular stream. Thanks so much. And thanks, Paul, and everybody, and all the callers that we didn't get to, because today's crazy. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Wow. Just the whole craziness. Yeah, John.
We did it.
Yeah, John Harwood has just posted stimulus negotiations update as his quote tweet for that Trump tweet that just came through. And that's exactly what's happening. Watch for it to be greenlit while the president is in the hospital. Because they can't wait now.
Great show, Hal. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Stay safe.
All right, my Hal, I got to blow.
Okay, yeah. Be well. Adore you. Be safe. We'll see you next time.
Oh, next week I'm doing a marathon, so I do not think I will be here.
Understood. I wish you health and well-being, and no one
Thank
will
you.
fault you for being healthy. So much love to you from the chat, and I will see you a week and 2 weeks from now as we
2 weeks
lead
from
up.
now, yes.
Which, by the way,
Talk to you later.
is the next Sexy Liberal show. I think
that's
it's the
exciting.
26th. Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know. 2, 3. Yeah, 2 weeks. I think away. It's going to be crazy. Yes, 2 weeks away. So ish. So we'll have some stuff to talk about then as well. So yeah.
Awesome.
Much love. All right. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye. So, and then we'll sign off on this guy. Hang up on that. Shutting down clean feed. And then suddenly I think we're alone now. Everybody.
Nice. Nice. Not thrilling, but nice.
So it's just us. Hi, chat room. Welcome to the post show. This is our magical third hour. After we do the radio show, we kind of dovetail into the regular show a little bit. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. When it's a Sexy Liberal show, I don't, right? Because I got to go off and get ready for the cocktail hour, and then the show itself, and then the post show, and the hangout, and the VIP, and all that kind of stuff. But today, yeah. Wow. There is, let's see. New from Trump's, new memorandum. Hold on. From Trump's physician. I gotta blow this thing up. You can see it. Why are you shrinking instead of getting bigger? Crazy. Oh, it's only making that. So, picture itself. It says, this morning, while summarizing the president's health, I incorrectly used the term 72 hours instead of day 3 and 48 hours instead of day 2 with regards to his diagnosis and the administration of the polyclonal antibody therapy. The president was first diagnosed with COVID-19 on the evening of Thursday, October 1st, and had received Regeneron's antibody cocktail on Friday, October 2nd. Yeah. Hold on, I gotta shrink this back down. Yeah, that is definitely an enormous error by all standards. The responses are coming in hot and heavy on Twitter, by the way. We might as well bring some of this up. John Cleese, the president's doctor, Dr. Conman, has just released a statement dictated to him. I'd like to point out that comparing morticians offers in no way reflects concern about the president's health. It is simply being done out of an abundance of caution. this is as this timeline continues. There's umpteen things in this. The volume of people Thursday afternoon, the Trump campaign knew that Hope Hicks tested positive, and that therefore the Biden campaign had potentially been exposed to COVID at the debate on Tuesday. They did not reach out to warn them. There's a lot of cleanup that's going on around this in particular. Jim Acosta says the White House TV pool just received this quote from a source familiar with the president's health that the president's vitals over the last 48 hours. That was the one that I retweeted. And the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care. We are still not on a clear path to a full recovery. This is, clearly, hold on. I have to, I think we're all comfortable, believing.
Bring out your dead!
Anything.
Bring out your dead!
That the
Bring
White House
out
doctor
your dead!
says. I don't know where that's coming from. I can't possibly imagine. The spelling of Regeneron is misspelled. In that letter, they misspelled Regeneron? Jesus. Come on, guys. This is just embarrassing. I'm going to see if, by the way, there may be other live gatherings, as this rolls on. But I don't want to go, I want to come. I have no idea why they thought this version of this stuff was a good idea. Like, why sending out this wall of doctors? I mean, it just seems like a horrible mistake. I got better. That's the Newt. That's a different scene. Dr. Atlas is a hack. I wonder what he's doing. Dr. Atlas has been basically shadowing the president since he had his mini strokes. I mean, that's a big part of let's see. I mean, all of this stuff is coming up. And we're basically, Hal, I hear that too, bring out your dead. Yeah, totally. I don't know where that's coming. I'll do us a favor. I kind of got to go over to Thompson's. They've lost 9 today. I'm currently looking up the whatever latest breaking stuff I can find to keep you guys in here. But the New York Times is keeping kind of a running list. And you're going to see as this comes up, where is it? Here you go. Trump hospitalized with virus said to have concerning symptoms. These are still their folks. The fact that Ronna McDaniel tracing Trump's contacts before he tested positive. Pardon me for yawning. I was up really late watching the news last night. These are all the places he traveled. This is Captain Super Spreader running around all over the place. Basically creating this situation where all the... watch the spikes over the next little bit. They're all swing states. They're all places that he has to win. All these people at Bedminster would be like this mini Sturgis as these people run around and the surrounding area and up into New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Minnesota, the Virginia, like Newport News, Virginia rally or whatever, like that's a different package altogether. Atlanta and Florida, like all he's doing is having his, is just spreading it to everywhere. So this is the timeline that they had put up starting, September 25th. Went to that Latinos for Trump event. Pretty much guess he didn't make much contact with people there. 3 o'clock Friday, it starts to go. The later tested negative, later tested positive, not known is their standard. So that's what you're seeing on these circles. The fundraiser, then it starts to expand. If you'll notice, the campaign event and then they go to the hotel in Washington. That starts to spread, and then all of a sudden Saturday, these people started going to the Rose Garden nomination ceremony. They were all there. This starts to spread. Rudolph Giuliani has tested negative in theory. We don't know about Kayleigh McEnany, although she had tested positive when I played that clip from Fox yesterday. Mike Pence and Karen Pence, they used a separate podium for the Amy Coney Barrett thing, which is not something they always do when it comes to Pence, which says that they probably knew that there was somebody in circulation. We don't know anybody, any of these folks. We don't know their status. We don't know that we will, nor do we know about Brett Giroir. The amazing part to me is Bill Stepien. That part, the fact that his not that he caught it, of course, he's always around. The part that, the monkey wrench that throws into the campaign with both him and Brad Parscale out of the running, which means Don Jr. is effectively running the campaign right now. Factor that into your head. Holy smokes. We don't know any of these folks except for Kimberly Guilfoyle, who's already had it. So she is clear of it, so she can face the sexual, sexual harassment charges from Fox News that are coming up. These are the folks that were at the debate. Laura Trump has tested negative. All these folks have tested negative, allegedly. Again, that's immediate. Takes time for it to build up in your system. If they haven't been tested again, we don't know whether that's Mike Lee talking to Amy Coney Barrett inside at the White House on that day. That's when that picture was taken. That's not for all this outdoor event horseshit that we've been hearing. Yeah. It is, we'll roll through all their stuff or whatever, but that's their primary timeline on this. Yeah, no masks, no distancing. They all had tests that made them feel like they were, they were all fine. I for one, if they're, let's see, are they live streaming coverage of, yeah. Evil 3 ex-Trump aides joined to oust Trump after the debate. Okay, that's a couple of days ago. What website? That's the New York Times, Christine F.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support.
Yeah, so that's the NBC is posting the 18-second video that he put out, where I gotta say, he looks like crap. None of that 18-second video, he looks terrible. I don't know what one of the doctors on MSNBC was saying his skin color was good and all this stuff. He looks awful. He looks, and that's, they powdered him up and got him ready to, to roll out. This is, yeah. Motang Clan. Here's the thing, too. So there's all these secondary effects. Okay, so I want to bring something up. Let me look at it real quick. Cognitive COVID effects. Long term. Okay, so one of the ongoing things that they've, I put a story in here about the, let's see, here we go. This is Mayo Clinic. Here's the NIH. This is our country, our National Institute of Health. This is the part where I don't think it's fake. Okay? Yeah, his voice is definitely raspy in this. So this is from the National Institute of Health. Okay, this is their immediate and long-term consequences of COVID-19 infections for the development of neurological disease. Abstract. Increasing evidence suggests that infection with SARS-CoV-2 causes neurological deficits in a substantial portion of affected patients. See that? While these symptoms arise acutely during the course of infection, less is known about the possible long-term consequences for the brain. Severely affected COVID-19 cases experience high levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines and acute respiratory dysfunction and often require assisted ventilation. All these factors have been suggested to cause cognitive decline. Pathogenetically, this may result from direct negative effects of the immune reaction, acceleration or aggravation of pre-existing cognitive deficits. What pre-existing cognitive deficits might we be speaking about? I can't imagine.
Yosemite, wildlife refuges. I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife. Michigan gave us Motang.
So, what previously existing cognitive issues? Thank God they don't list them. Oh no. Or de novo induction of neurodegenerative disease. Beg your pardon. This article summarizes the current understanding of the neurological symptoms of COVID-19 and hypothesizes that affected patients may be at a higher risk of developing cognitive decline after overcoming the primary COVID-19 infection. This is a big part of this. This is why you don't fake this. Because this becomes a conversation. Every verbal slip that Trump has from now on is no longer just him getting out over his skis verbally. Now his whole argument that, Biden has dementia nonsense, which is garbage to begin with, gets way worse. There are at least 4 possible pathogenic mechanisms that may account for the detrimental effect of COVID-19 on the central nervous system. That's what CNS is. 1, direct viral encephalitis, meaning, there is a inflammation and degeneration caused by the disease itself. Systemic inflation, which is inflammation. Systemic inflammation, which is your body reacts, that's the cytokine storm where it overreacts to the disease. It's not the disease that's causing the damage, it's your body's entire system freaking out. So you get, a lot of people on kidney failure have overdoses or those kind of things. Sometimes their entire body will bloat. It's really horrifying, but it's a systemic inflation. Your body fighting at all corners, it freaks out. That can, once it rescinds, can cause a lot of negative effects. Peripheral organ dysfunction, liver, kidney, and lung, meaning that after the infection, your lungs and your liver and your kidneys don't work like they're supposed to, so they don't filter out the gunk that's in your system, and eventually it works its way to your brain and gives you strokes or mini strokes, or limits the oxygen in your blood, or has more toxicity in your blood, and that passes the blood-brain barrier, all that stuff. And 4, cerebrovascular changes. So changes in the veins in the brain and the spinal column. So tightening of, loosening of, puncturing of, buildup of particulates or plaque in those veins that eventually cause cognitive deficits. So those are the 4 main areas. We're not getting into syphilis yet. In most cases, although that, by the way, all of these things, you're talking about 4th stage syphilis and all the stuff that it supposedly does to your brain, that's all in this too. This is not out of the question for any major infection that overruns the system. But yeah, that's for another time. In most cases, however, neurological manifestations of COVID-19 may arise from a combination of the above. So everybody's got 4 little cuts as opposed to 1 big one from the rest of these, and the rest of them are fine. Because if you've got one of these problems, you've got all of these problems. Any one or a combination of these mechanisms put COVID-19 survivors at risk for developing long-term neurological consequences, either by aggravating pre-existing neurological disorders or by initiating a new disorder. That's some scary shit. That's if you're the president and you're the president's doctor, you know this stuff. Well, man, I don't know if the president knows this, but his doctors all know this. Whether they're telling him or not. Whoops, I clicked on a thing. So, oh look, Stuttering John is calling me. That's fun. What's happening, brother? I'm streaming on the air. What's happening?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm coming over tomorrow. I'm driving in the morning.
Tomorrow morning, like at what?
No, I'll leave Vegas early in the morning, and so I don't know when I'll get in, but it'll probably be afternoon, if that's cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, do that, and I'll come over afterwards. Fear not. But I'm live streaming all this stuff. Is this not crazy? Seriously.
Oh my God.
Yeah, of course. Like I've got a mic next to you on the iPad right now, but your 2-second take on this. What's your feeling?
Well, I just find, hard to believe that Donald and Melania both got COVID. I mean, since when have they been within 6 feet of each other?
Well, apparently, he says Hope Hicks got it from the soldiers. Maybe that's where Melania got it as well. Is that what we're to assume?
Well, all I know, Hal, is that Donald Trump Jr. tried to call his father, and the only way he could get a hold of him is by saying that he was with Senator Bob Menendez.
Good God. All right, I will see. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, brother.
All right, be well. Okay, bye.
I'll see you.
Bye. So that was Stuttering John coming in, giving his 2 cents. So, yeah, Hal, I think has figured out how to have guests. I think Hal's figured out how to have guests without a producer. Yeah. Well, no, I can't get him on camera. He just called me, and then my iPad, which I'm using as my news reference page when I do the radio show. So I have you guys up here. The camera's over to my right, and then the stuff that runs all the sound and the feed out to the other sites is on my left. And then I have my iPad on a stand that's the up-to-date news if I'm just going through stuff. Yeah, right now my thing is there's tons of this stuff. If you look at SARS-CoV-2 and the impact on the brain, how coronavirus affects memory and cognition in the long term. Now, most of this has to do with older people who've gotten this. It is now clear that patients suffering from COVID-19 exhibit neurological symptoms from loss of smell to delirium to an increased risk of stroke. Now, these are 3 different setups, okay? The loss of smell thing is a standardized part of this, and they don't quite know why. But loss of taste and smell can last a while. My cousin had loss of taste and smell. It's still intermittent, but it's coming back. It's a temporary aspect of this particular disease for whatever reason. The delirium thing has to do with stories of people in the hospital who are undergoing treatment, and it starts to get worse before it gets better. And the lack of oxygen and the effects of it on the brain cause them to have these nightmares. I posted a story earlier that detailed a bunch of people who have had delirium while they were in hospital. Now, a lot of people who are in ICUs and are undergoing treatments or on ventilators and stuff, your body freaks out when dealing with these kind of things. So delirium is not that weird for any infectious disease when people are in dire straits. So most of the stories related to the delirium from this come from people who have been hit very hard by it. The increased risk of stroke thing seems to be a complete side aspect of this, which is why they have the president on blood thinners. You don't want him on too much. They're probably giving him a low-dose baby aspirin. And it's, that's fairly normal. There are also longer-lasting consequences for including myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, and Guillain-Barré syndrome. The effects are caused by direct viral infection of the brain tissue, but growing evidence suggests additional indirect actions. This is what we're talking about like if it affects your kidneys and your liver and your lungs, it chokes off blood to the brain and oxygen to the brain, so it can over long term, especially if you're not healthy. These are all things that are going to show up in people who are more morbidly obese or have comorbidities that affect the amount of quality blood flow that they have to start with. So what I recommend to anybody who catches COVID is during and after, to the best of your ability, if you're not just completely laid waste by it and laying down, during your recovery, do yoga. Do anything you can to improve your cardiovascular and your neurological health. Stretching and hydrating, all these things become increasingly important because the initial damage, a lot of this stuff is, because like the deaths we're seeing are related to comorbidity, a lot of the long-term effects are people with comorbidities, but that have survived, okay? So you have to take this with a grain of salt in that regard. That also, you have to recognize that the president, while he may survive, has all of these comorbidities. He's only surviving, if he was toughing this out at home, he'd be a dead man. There's nobody questions that. I'm a neuroscientist specializing in how memories are formed, the role of immune cells in the brain, and how memory is persistently disrupted after illness and immune activation. As I survey the emerging scientific literature, my question is, will there be a COVID-19 related wave of memory deficits, cognitive decline, and dementia cases in the future? Picture of neuron. How long does inflammation exert long-lasting effects on? How does inflammation exert long-lasting effects on memory? If activation of neuroimmune cells is limited to the duration of illness, then how can inflammation cause long-lasting memory deficits or increase the risk of cognitive decline? Both the brain and the immune system have specifically evolved to change as a consequence of experience in order to neutralize danger and maximize survival. In the brain, the changes in connections between neurons allow us to store more memories and rapidly change behavior to escape threat or seek food or social opportunities. The immune system has evolved to fine-tune the inflammatory response and antibody production against previously encountered pathogens. So this is the immune system. NBC's Jeff Bennett says that Ronnie Jackson handpicks Sean Connolly as his replacement. That explains the similarity between their up-talking R.E. Trump's health. Many of Connolly's peers feel he was unfairly promoted. Yeah, they're all sycophants. We don't know about the long-range cognitive effects, but cats and dogs are going to be better. They carry it, but they won't get it. So a lot of this, is still speculation on how the extent by which. HalSparks Regeneron spokesperson just said Connolly misrepresented their treatment. It's 2 monoclonal antibodies, not polyclonal antibody in his correction statement. So they're not even talking to each other. This is terrible cleanup. Coordinate your message. What the hell is wrong with you? This back and forth is embarrassing. Fix it. Yeah. Government officials, family members, and others around Trump have been tested for COVID-19, right? That's going to be going on in this one. Let's see. Dr. Connolly. If Dr. Connolly was telling the truth, Trump knew that he had COVID-19 on Wednesday morning. Any elected official who tests positive for COVID-19 but still attends in-person events without warning the attendees needs to resign, period. That's from Ted Lieu. President Doctor said that Trump's diagnosis was 72 hours ago. That was Wednesday around 11:30 a.m., which makes Trump's actions all the more alarming. They fixed that to say 3 days ago, which still fits. They're trying to say 3 days ago, and if you include today, that's Thursday. It's just garbage. Yeah, so the White House, they're not going to clarify this. Trump's doctor said 72 hours into diagnosis. Trump told the public 35 hours ago. Won't say when his last negative test was evasive on questions about oxygen, won't detail what heart and lung scans have revealed, won't answer about steroids, won't reveal how high his fever was or is. Yeah. This is, yeah, it's weird. hanky. And you don't have to do this. You know, you can, they have time. No one is setting a timeline outside themselves. We're watching history unfold in the likes no one has ever seen. This is a brand new scenario. Flying blind people, get in, shut up, and hold on. 2020. Well, get ready to vote and get ready to take extra precautions in doing so. Paul Bagala is saying, in crisis communications, the keys are trust, truthfulness, and transparency. Dr. Conley evaded, avoided, and stonewalled. He did not serve our country well in that performance. Let us all hope he is a better doctor than a briefer. Conley would not definitively answer whether Trump has lung damage. Yeah. Again, I don't know why they're lying about this stuff. I don't know why he won't just answer this, because it's not a bad sign. You can say out of an abundance of caution, they gave him oxygen yesterday to make sure, you know, once we found out he was positive, we started all protocols. Whether he needs them or not, we're going to do all these things. He's the president of the United States. That's how you answer it. If they go, yeah, he was on oxygen. Yes, of course he was. We found out he didn't actually need it. He hasn't been on oxygen the rest of the day. Once he came here, we didn't have him on oxygen. We don't have him on oxygen today. But they were, you know, he had just tested positive. We were going to make sure that, you know, he needed everything. Thanks. It's nice to know you guys too. My goal is to be the one of the few good things about 2020 for you. This is, yeah. I'm constantly amazed at how, like, what a gargantuan screw up this is from their point of view. And again, this speaks to just like the normal level of incompetence in the White House. You know what I mean? Like this, yeah. I'm gonna try and find a live. Yes, Steph, thank you. I think I thanked you yesterday, but I don't know that you heard me. So thank you for the Venmo. I appreciate it. Yes, thanks for the tea, everybody. It's super weird that Dan Bongino, who's one of the president's biggest supporters, just found out he has a tumor in his neck. And had this really like tearful admission to his followers and everybody that he has this, you know, he's found a tumor in his neck. It's really scary. It's just horrible, you know, piece of news. And my heart goes out to the dude. I can't stand his political opinions, and I think he's a complete moron. But I don't wish him ill at all. And what a sad thing to find out about yourself. You know, I would rather go back and forth with this dude on the field of ideas than watch him succumb to a disease while he watches his hero succumb to a disease. That's the insane part. Guys, I'm gonna be on tomorrow for sure. I'll be on at 3 o'clock tomorrow, because for crying out loud, this is going to be unfolding day by day. There is no way they don't do a regular, they have to do a briefing tomorrow. They have to. I don't know if it moves. I don't know if Kayleigh McEnany is going to do any kind of a briefing. I don't know if she, we understand this. Before this broke, hold on, let's see. Let me see if I can find the story. Sorry, I made a joke. There were all these stories coming up. News. Let me see if I can find this. Gotta find the story. There was this story about how Redfield was talking about resigning just a couple of days ago. Going to vote today, right on. press mad at her because she didn't tell them in the briefing room. Yeah, well, of course. And this, like, for crying out loud, let's just look at what happened Wednesday. Beyond his, his rally and his fundraiser and his and her having a briefing and them knowing. Yeah, I mean, Redfield's, buckling on this stuff. See, let me see if it shows up with Redfield might resign. Yeah, I can't find it right away. But there was all this talk for a couple of days as to Robert Redfield maybe stepping down. Yeah, let me see. There was all this stuff about emails like this guy. Hold on one second. Where Neil Caputo and others were trying to silence the CDC and question its science. Yeah, or Michael Caputo, this dude, like, who's lost his mind and gone. Like, this part of it where, like she said, here you go. This is really the beginning, and what we hope is what we can take seriously and slow the transmission. Our comments are in contrast to those of senior members of the Trump administration, notably Vice President Mike Pence, who said on Friday, we have made truly remarkable progress. So she's implying that prior to now, the administration, including her, have not taken it seriously. This is false. What else does she have in her arsenal that has not been done to offer? Again, she's being duplicitous. The hospitals are geared up. The medical community alerted. PPEs are available. There are ICU beds for surge capacity. We're working on a vaccine. She was just speaking honestly, and they're jumping on her with both feet because you can't, the ship is already sinking, so you can't allow another minor crack. And if it starts to go, you got it. Like, this is, if it starts to crack, you just, then they're just going to jump out. That's just crazy. So look at that. I'm on YouTube. Crazy. This in and of itself is a major turn of events. And again, I don't think by any stretch that he's pretending. This is like a 24/7 soap opera. It totally is. And I feel like a lot of us are just going by this piece by piece. We're still not on a clear path to full recovery. Person familiar with the president's health said that part of it. I mean, it's got to come out that was. I mean, that was Mark Meadows. It has to be. And again, he could be saying this because they are, and he knows it, and he knows he's going to be fine, or at least he thinks he believes he's going to be. Yeah. So midday Thursday, the president got this Regeneron treatment, not Friday morning, which is what they've been saying. He's in exceptionally good spirits. I feel like I could walk out of here today. Yeah. Do we want to go look at what happened to, COVID? The story about, yeah, where they go? We'll go to CNBC or, yeah. See if they have a timeline of his of what happened. But this is Herman Cain. What was rallies that other people caught the virus at? Didn't wear a mask. Wouldn't wear a mask. And let's see. Learned of his diagnosis on June 29th, and he died on July 30th, or at least they're reporting it. 9 days after attending a Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he and many others crowded together without wearing masks. He spent most of July in an Atlanta area hospital. let's see, just before announcing his diagnosis on July 2nd, Kane posted support for not mandating masks at a July 4th event at Mount Rushmore in South Dakota that Trump was planning to attend. Masks will not be mandatory for the event, which will be attended by President Trump. People are fed up, in all caps, he tweeted. Messages of condolence poured in. He'll be missed. Called himself an ABC, American Black Conservative. Had just started hosting a new show on Newsmax. If they don't have him, they don't have a timeline of when he was diagnosed. See if Contagion Online had it. This was the one I found. Herman Cain, let's see. Announcement was made by Dan Calabrese. We knew that when he was first hospitalized with COVID, that it was going to be a rough fight. He had trouble breathing, was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Cain was admitted to Atlanta, Georgia hospitals on July 1st after testing positive for SARS-CoV-2 several days prior. Hold on. This is from Contagion Live. A website devoted to infectious disease. I can't imagine what their picture category looks like on here. Yipe. On Tuesday, Cain was said to be recovering, possibly reflecting the complex immune system stages of COVID-19 disease course. We didn't release detailed updates on his condition to the public or to the media because neither his family nor we thought there was any reason for that. There were hopeful indicators, including a mere 5 days ago when doctors told us they thought he would eventually recover, although it wouldn't be quick. We were relieved to be told that and passed on the news via Herman's social media, and yet we also felt concerned about the fact that he never quite seemed to get to the point where the doctors could advance him to the recovery phase. I don't... this is the news on the Mercury News. Is San Jose Mercury News? Put a story on here? It's an OnlyFans for viruses. Yeah, so this was in the middle of it. Herman Cain, recovering from COVID-19, remains hospitalized. Former president is receiving oxygen and improving. Cain is still in the hospital being treated with oxygen for his lungs. In the meantime, the doctors say his organs and systems are strong. His account tweeted in a thread on Monday, re-strengthening the lungs is a long and slow process, and the doctors want to be thorough about it. According to a subsequent tweet, he really is getting better. Don't want that. I don't want a COVID news. I can't turn that off. Thank you. Get back. I'm reading an old article. What's wrong with you? Close that. Nope. All right. It's not letting me see it. So this in and of itself, like the fact that there was a story, he was in the hospital long enough for them to be a story about, yeah, he's getting back together. Yeah, he's gonna be fine. Yeah, look at all this. Herman Cain tweets, coronavirus not that deadly, despite being dead. God help us if Trump tweets from beyond the grave. Like, that in and of itself is nuts. If Barrett is the super spreader, is she danger to the SCOTUS? Well, she's not on the SCOTUS yet, and she's not meeting with them. They're kept separate from her. So I doubt it. So weird. Am I in my 30s or 40s? I'm in my 50s. 51. And I look at today because I'm tired. This is ongoing, going to be crazy. So far we know Ron Johnson, Chris Christie, and Kellyanne Conway are the newest added to the list. We know that the president received oxygen at the White House, that he got tested a day before, more than 24 hours before he tested positive, more than 24 hours before he said that he had tested positive, which means they knew that Hope Hicks had tested positive probably 24 hours before that. They allegedly, once she tested positive, they pulled her off of Marine One. It looks increasingly like she tested positive. They retested her and didn't pull her off of Marine One until she got a second test positive. So I mean, we're going to watch this unfold. This is an ongoing piece of information. The Biden campaign is moving ahead. Biden's his statement to, for, and about the president and his wife were genuine and nice. Haven't even arresting people like cough knowing they have COVID, so shouldn't he be arrested? Oh, well, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, that's what Scaramucci was talking about with the negligent homicide idea. Biden did an event in Grand Rapids. He will continue to be able to go out. This came out just now, 1 month until Election Day. Let's do this, America. Biden put out, be a patriot, do your part, wear a mask. Wearing a mask will protect you, but it will also protect those around you, your mom, your dad, your son, your daughter, your neighbor, your coworker. Don't just do it for yourself, do it for the people you love. Yesterday in his speech, he went, it's not about being a tough guy. I am curious what SNL will do of all this. I mean, yeesh. They're continuing. Look at this grassroots fundraiser they had. Michael B. Jordan and Barack and Kamala all raising money for the campaign going into this virtually, so nobody gets sick. This is, yeah. Oh, SNL is in such rewrites. Oh my God. The newsroom scramble that's been going on is incredible. Let's see. I wonder if there's a statement from Chris Christie yet. Probably not. I'll see if I can find video of it for you guys, if there is. Statement on President COVID. Trump supporters react to the president's COVID test. Should we look at some of these guys? This is Guy Global, I think. Let's see.
Call her and she made it immediately. And a text message over there. If you have a friend, it's perfect. Thanks God you're coming in a good time. I'm scared. In a first time in a night when it's coming early morning in my telephone, the news. And now I talk to so many people over here and my friend, and everybody is give it to the power and a strongness in Melanie and Trump. I believe this is not
Melanie
hoax. This is the Democrat made it. Because Obama already paid lots of money for Wuhan to make some laboratory who making some very high,
this totally works.
High powerful virus. If the people is against him,
it's a very powerful virus.
I'm not. I always believe in him every day, every second.
Yeah, it's like heartbreaking and sad, but he's a strong man. He'll get through it. I don't feel like he did.
It's heartbreaking inside.
I'm playing it. I think that he tried to protect the American people from hysteria and panic. As the president, he's put himself all over the place trying to, express how he feels as a president for the United
Yes, I will agree with this Trump supporter that when the president has tried to express how he feels, he's all over the place.
States. And yeah, he's put himself in a lot of vulnerable situations because he is the president. Why would he pretend he has COVID? You know, that makes no sense. I think it goes to show that he himself is just a normal human like everyone else.
Really? That never occurred to me. What a strange thing to have to verbalize.
So yeah, when people say those things, it's just because they're not Trump supporters, you know?
I mean, it's going to have to be a day-to-day thing. I mean, you know, they said he just had some minor, it was just minor at this point. But yeah, it's concerning at that age, for sure. So I'm definitely worried about him.
And I'm just grateful it's happening now prior to the election so people's eyes can hopefully be opened that have followed him to see that he has not even once been able to show accuracy as far as coronavirus is concerned.
Interested to see how badly it affects him. If he's down in bed and sick and needs a respirator, that would probably change a lot of people's opinion. But he may just feel some flu symptoms. He may just have to stay in bed a few days. You don't know. It affects everyone so differently. So I'm kind of interested to see, because it would probably change his opinion if he gets real sick and has to go on a respirator.
Uh-huh. Yeah, especially if it doesn't come off the respirator. That's, wow. I wonder what the Q folks are saying about this. Hold on. Like, because that, I mean, those sites have to be losing their mind. See if it's a filter. I'll do it today, maybe. See if we can find. Oh my God, these are just the digital ones. They do a bunch of these. In case you don't know, let's see if there's. I don't know if there's any words on these, but like this one has one view, and I think it's me. Really? Walking across the lawn. Wish I was at a mega rally. Oh, Melania and my weird leg. This sucks so much. What do they got? 4 pictures they're using over and over again. So there's a lot of these QAnon videos that are just that. They put them in there as a those are all the foreign sites that are doing QAnon boosters. They just make these videos and then you just fill the internet with them. This one has 12 views. This one has 17 views. Yeah, House approved measure. Okay, that was the QAnon thing. Now that Trump tested positive for COVID-19, will shoppers be more compliant with mask mandates? We'll see. That's the vlogs. Dems conspire against U.S. president. Pray for death. Wow. Yeah, I'm curious to see how many of these folks start flipping out. Let's see. They just do Q. Q Trump, COVID. See if that brings it up. Man. It'll have to be new. It'll have to be, you know, today or in the last 24 hours. Yeah, so they push those down in the algorithm really far. So this is what comes up. This is really some scary. Yeah. Oh, it's nuts. There's a bunch of local news who are asking people questions about this too. Faith Nation. This is the Christian Broadcasting Network. This is Pat Robertson's channel.
Tonight,
or as I like to call him, the TYT of Christianity.
President and First Lady test positive with coronavirus.
Those are some nice graphics.
He continues to be not only in good spirits but very energetic.
It's the Holy Spirit. Who's that creep behind him? What's happening? What a weird picture choice. He's touching me in the bad place. It looks like he's being pickpocketed, and the guy missed his pocket and is now looking for his wallet in his ass. What is that picture? What is that? What are they putting up?
Experiencing mild symptoms from.
Yeah, he looks like he's experiencing mild symptoms. Hello. I bet you're wondering where my hand is right now. What? Yeah, it's a cattle prod, so they can zap him right in the badoobies.
The deadly virus days after the first presidential debate.
He wears a mask everywhere.
He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
The diagnosis.
Yeah, and he's the one still campaigning. Interesting.
Sending ripples through the White House.
Yeah, we used see, guys, did you notice this? Come here, look at this edit, bud. I threw in, you know how we were like, that ripple thing, when are we ever going to use that edit?
Up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
The diagnosis sending ripples through the White House.
Ripple. See what I did there? Ripple? Huh? I was going to do one where a bottle of cheap wine goes through, but that is so, just saying. That Full Sail education is paying off.
Capitol Hill and the campaign trail.
And
the news is dominating.
By the way, that was when he was sick and he chucked hats at people. That was one of the few. Have you guys noticed that? We watched a lot of those rallies. Very few of those rallies has he thrown stuff to the people. Did you notice that? Watch
Capitol Hill and the campaign trail.
The hat, see that hat in his hand? The blue Make America Great Again hat. Remember that? Oh, video toaster was sweet. He threw those to those folks. That was the night he knew he was.
The news is dominated with events in the United States.
The world is watching.
Well, obviously,
I'm the only person in the world that can make the British accent somehow seem dumber.
We all want to send our best wishes to the President and
we're just not going to.
First Lady, and I've done that this morning.
Reaction.
I've done it. I'm not going to do it again.
From state leaders flood in. All this and more.
Hey, I didn't give you the disease. I come over here.
Tonight on Faith Nation.
Come on, Faith Nation. Let's go. It's the Faith Nation. We're having the faith for the nation.
The President and First Lady in quarantine at the White House. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. Good evening. Well,
thank you, Jessup.
The White House tonight in message control mode after the first couple.
Who do you think is in charge of exfoliating the hosts on this network? I mean, they must have a whole team.
Tested positive for the coronavirus, saying today they're experiencing, quote, mild symptoms.
Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany adding that their spirits remain high and that the president is still hard at work.
Are they allowed to say spirits remain high without doing this? Because I think we should, guys. Guys, I think we should. Their spirits remain high.
News came after Hope Hicks, one of the president's closest senior aides,
and my doppelganger,
tested positive for the virus. For more on all of this, let's bring in CBN White House correspondent Ben
and our favorite incel,
Kennedy. Ben?
Jenna, John, right now President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are in isolation at
As you can see, I'm in the White House and not at all at my grandmother's house.
White House. And as you guys were talking about, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows says President Trump is up and about and even working despite having mild symptoms.
The White House doctor issuing a statement saying the president and First
Well, you might want to update this graphic.
Lady are both well at this time after contracting the coronavirus, adding he'll carry out his duties without disruption and plans to remain at home within the White House.
Yeah.
Mild symptoms, but he is hard at work.
Both the president and First Lady.
Yeah, they could only use one sentence of Kayleigh McEnany because of her tit slit that she had on her blouse. That's not, you can't have that on CBN. That's not the right. That's mother would not approve.
Tweeting, "We will get through this together."
Ooh.
They remain in good spirits. The president does have mild symptoms.
The president remained in good spirits because he didn't want to panic the people. Is what we're going to hear next.
Doctors continue to monitor both his health and the health of the First Lady.
Late Thursday, he announced,
"I have COVID and I'm squeezing it."
Plans to quarantine after Hope Hicks tested positive. She traveled with him several times.
Whoa, that was a saucy pic.
Announced plans to quarantine after Hope
Hicks. She looks like, he's touching me. And he's like, ooh, I get to touch her.
Hicks tested positive. She traveled with him several times this week.
Listen to me. Follow my instruction. And
including to Ohio Tuesday for the first presidential debate. Trump phoned into Fox News.
Hand job coming down the stairs.
To talk about Hicks before he got his own results.
Yeah, basically I breathe on her every day.
A lot of time with Hope, and so does the First Lady.
Uh-huh. You mean kind of in a Falwell kind of a way?
She's tremendous. I was a little surprised, but she's a very warm person. She has a hard time when soldiers and law enforcement comes up to her. You know, she wants to treat them great, not say, stay away, I can't get near you. It's a very, very tough disease.
The president...
And it's not the soldiers and the cops that weren't staying away from her. It was you that wasn't staying away from her.
Joins other world leaders like Britain's Boris Johnson and Brazil's Jair.
He looks great. Much better than the last picture we saw of him.
Bolsonaro, who have also tested.
Yeah, they look fabulous.
Positive. He kept a midday.
Oh, that's a rough one. Look at the throat tuck on this one. That is serious.
Phone call on COVID-19 support to vulnerable seniors, but has canceled all in-person rallies and appearances in Florida this week. It's unclear how his health will affect the next debate set for October 15th. Democratic challenger Joe Biden tweeted, "Jill and I send our thoughts and prayers to President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump for a swift recovery."
Actually, if you notice, they were more specific. They didn't just say thoughts and prayers. They didn't rubber stamp it. It said, "Jill and I send our thoughts to the President and First Lady Melania Trump for a swift recovery. We will continue to pray for the health and safety of the President and his family." I mean, as a Christian, you should notice the difference. It's more meaningful.
Now, Biden and his wife did test negative for the virus. If President Trump is sick or incapacitated, he does have the ability under the 25th Amendment to transfer temporary powers to Vice President Mike Pence. Pence,
which we're all for here at the Christian Broadcasting Network,
did test negative today. John, Jenna?
And that is good news. All right, thank you, CBN's Ben Kennedy.
Whoa.
Here with us now for more on what it means now that the president is also a COVID patient is CBN News medical reporter Lori Johnson. Lori,
you're blinking a lot. We expect truth to come pouring out.
The White House says the president and First Lady are experiencing, quote, mild symptoms. For the layperson, what does that mean?
It means they don't really feel that bad. We're talking about symptoms like fever, fatigue, cough, congestion, things like a cold. So the president and the First Lady are being closely monitored. What we don't want to see are those mild symptoms progress into more serious symptoms, particularly.
I'm so glad they have a medical expert on to tell us these things.
Shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, clutching the chest, tightness of the chest. Their oxygen levels are going to be close.
Okay, watch how you're talking about this. you're making some of your old people watching this network for real vapor lock right now.
Monitored, and they're going to be on the lookout for their oxygen.
Incapacitated. That's when you have That's when you have caffeine and you're constipated.
Levels to see if they're decreasing. And if that happens, they are going to need to be put on oxygen therapy, which is often very common for people in the early stages of COVID-19.
Hey, Lori, the president is, of course, at 74. He's overweight and has been treated for high
shots fired.
cholesterol. Does this put him in that high-risk category?
It absolutely does. People who are age 74 are...
But we'd like to remind you that because of the grace of Jesus, Mike Pence isn't in any of these categories.
5% more, they have a 5 times more likely chance of being admitted to the hospital, a 9%.
Yeah, we're beyond that part. He was admitted yesterday.
Chance of dying.
They rolled him into the medical room at the White House before they medevaced him over to Walter Reed. So he was admitted to 2 hospitals.
Higher chance of dying than people who are, say, middle-aged. And then the obesity situation is very serious. We know that the president weighs 244 pounds. He's 6'3". That gives him a BMI, a body mass index of over 30, which puts him in the obesity category. And doctors say out of all the things...
He's 1 pound shy of morbid obesity, or 1 inch in height. Curious, isn't
that
it?
are predictors of whether a person will be hospitalized. It's obesity, because obesity in and of itself is an inflammatory condition. COVID-19 also an inflammatory condition. You put those two together and you have very serious inflammation. And we know that with so many of these patients,
we know this president claims to weigh 244 pounds.
The immune system just starts to go crazy. We call it a cytokine storm when the immune system can't handle all that inflammation and that.
I'm going to stop you right there, Lori. Real quick. Why would Jesus let that happen? I don't think he would. Thank you.
Cytokine storm is what ends up being deadly, not even the virus itself. So the inflammation is a very serious issue, accompanied with his age and the obesity. But having said that, 94% of people who are age 74 who are also obese survive COVID-19.
Lori, what kind of treatments do you suspect the president and first lady are receiving in the White House? We know months ago, President Trump acknowledged that he was using hydroxychloroquine.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
As a preventive.
That's right.
Yeah, that didn't work.
The president said if he ever got COVID-19, he would use hydroxychloroquine again. So we can only assume that that's happening.
It's not.
Moon River.
He's not getting hydroxychloroquine. They released what he's getting. He's not getting hydroxychloroquine. He's not going to get hydroxychloroquine.
We know that zinc has been shown to mitigate the virus from replicating. So we can assume that he's getting zinc. Of course, vitamin D levels, that's important, and vitamin C. But beyond that,
I don't know that she's a doctor. It says she's a medical,
wonder if he's been given remdesivir. Remdesivir is fantastic. It's one of the...
It's lovely. It's got woody, oak-like, and a stem that you would not believe. You swirl it. It's just, oh god! And with some strawberries. Oh, remdesivir on a warm summer night.
Few drugs the FDA has actually approved for COVID-19. It's an antiviral. It's best given in the early stages of the disease because it actually...
And with a slice of pineapple as a chaser.
Tamps down the virus's ability to replicate within the body. And we know that that's, he may be given a 5 or a 10.
30% of the time.
Day course of that.
Oh, Biden is live now? That's let's go with what, hold on, let me see if I can find him real quick. Because these people are fun. I'm enjoying going through their program. We don't go after the CBN crowd enough. Remdesivir has electrolytes. It's what plants crave. Certainly is. What about his stimulant and benzo addictions? Well, that's the thing. Is he being truthful about that? My argument would be no. I don't buy it. Hold on. Oh, it's Biden and Bernie Sanders are doing a thing together in Vermont. I see.
Can
A little. Oh, that's just Biden hanging out and doing his own thing. All right. I mean, Bernie hanging out and doing his own thing. Hold on. I don't. Let me. I'm looking it up right now. I'm just getting the Grand Rapids thing. Unless he's just making a statement on the news. Is he on? Yeah, I have 3 screens going. Totally. Yeah, Biden also has a town hall coming up on Monday. Oh, I don't know how many of you saw this last night.
We just got the first look of Jim Carrey as Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, and Maya Rudolph as his VP running mate Kamala Harris for the upcoming season premiere of SNL. The Dumb and Dumber actor has hosted the comedy sketch show 3 times and joined the 2015 40th.
I like some of his sketches on the show. They're amongst the best. But anyways, that's tonight. I'm looking forward to that as well. You just got a notification? I see. Yeah, SNL is definitely live tonight. Interesting to see how much the sexy liberal show SNL rips off tonight. Seriously. The doctor but said this morning. Somebody's got to fess up to Trump's drug use. That's good. That's a tough part. You know, if they knowingly factor that in. You know, because what do you do? What do you know what I mean? Like, what do you, as a physician, do you go over and talk to Mark Meadows or one of these folks and go, okay, on the download, let me know what is he taking and how often? Because that's going to affect his heart rate. If he'll detox from all the drugs, that won't be pretty. His what channel? NBC for SNL tonight. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm gonna we went over the hour anyways. I'm gonna sign off. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. I will be on tomorrow at 3:00. We're gonna. I think we're gonna be on every day from now to the election. You know, with the rare message. I will be, of course, in transit, so I might be doing it from Stuttering John's place. Or I might do it, later after, I run over there. But yeah. Doctors at Walter Reed know because his White House doctor supplying, they all do to some degree, usually just Ambien. Yeah. Yes, 3 p.m. Pacific is my plan. Depending on, where we get. So I might be doing it just live from, using my iPad from Stuttering John's place, which will be fairly hilarious. It's going to be a nutty month. Everybody just hang on tight. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer within social distance guidelines. This is all we're all gonna find out over the next couple of hours. The spread. I think the biggest thing to watch is there are 2 things this week. This is my prediction for the week. The first one being, does this slow Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation process? They will do everything to make sure it doesn't, but I can't see it not somehow affecting things, since members of the Judiciary Committee are testing positive and have to quarantine. Doesn't mean that they won't be able to do their stuff remotely from home, but it's possible. It's possible. The second one is the stimulus package, which I presume will go through by the end of the week, Wednesday. That basically Mnuchin is getting orders to just go ahead and sign off on whatever the Dems want. Yeah. That's I think those two things. Current polling, yeah. Should we do one right before I leave? Let's see if we can go to 538 polls. See if this has affected anything. If they've done a snap poll in the last little bit. That in and of itself, yes, Patreons assemble tomorrow.
Let's get after it. Cases are still going up. This virus has enormous capabilities.
Wait, it popped up. I don't know. Presidential approval rating is down. I don't know why it says it's up 3 points. Oh, he's plus 3 points. Look at this. Look at this. The president's approval rating is down 3 points. It was 53, and now it's 50. It's 47 disapprove, 50 approve, but it's going down. President general election. Zogby in the same one has Biden plus 2. Rest of them, let's see. Alabama is Trump plus 23. These are, and this is the quality of the polls right here. Which ones are good? Siena College is considered a good one. Biden's up 5. These are C minus, D minus, which means they Survey Monkey, because these are all digital. So you take them with a grain of salt, but they put them up anyways because they're assuming that. I can try to get up here, and that's the latest and greatest. See if their pages says anything. I love this. How will Trump's positive COVID-19 test affect the election? Biden is favored to win the election. Nationally, 50.5 to 43.1. His popularity is going down over time, or his disapproval rating is going down over time. His approval rating is going up over time. They're meeting closer. That's what happens when you get closer to election. But it's still terrible. 51.9 disapprove, 44.4 approve. That's not good. That's down too. Trump test. See if they have anything about this. Very early Friday morning, President Trump tweeted that we still don't know at this point. Editor-in-chief, let's see. Let's start with the big questions. What does this mean for the election? Nate Silver, editor-in-chief. So for some reason, I'm finding it hard to think about the electoral implications this morning. Maybe I need even more coffee. My thoughts right now are mostly some combination of one, seriously, how the fuck does this happen? Shouldn't everybody in the president's orbit have been tested constantly? And of course this happened because 2020, because the president clearly was not taking that many precautions. Harry Bacon Jr. Sounds delicious. I have no idea how this affects the election. This is truly unprecedented as far as I know in American elections. The president getting a serious virus weeks before the election. I can't think of any leader abroad who has gotten a virus like this weeks before the election either. Yeah, so they can't even look at comparative stuff. Everybody's like, yeah, it's a black box, honestly, so dependent on what happens next. Does Trump get really sick? Does he stay mostly asymptomatic? How far did the virus spread in the White House? All questions. And this is the other thing. What if, here's the thing, and I'm going to sign off now with this thought, and I want you guys can tweet me about it, or you can reach out later. What happens if Trump recovers fine? He gets through this in the next, 5 days with remdesivir and all this stuff, and he just gets right out of it. But one of the people he came in contact with at his Bedminster thing, or one of these other Republicans dies because of them coming in contact with him. I mean, I don't think his hardcore supporters will care, but that has to factor in. Eric Fielding, Trump was so sick yesterday, he asked if he would die like his friend Stan Chera. Well, that was the thing. He keeps telling the story about it. He was fine. He just went in. He wasn't feeling a little run down. The next thing, he's in a coma, and then he's dead. Trump has got to be thinking about this nonstop. Not wearing masks, yeah. I know he won't care, but I do think it would factor in. I'm just saying it's not going to help him in the suburbs. But there you go. Think about that. I'm going to sign off. You guys are awesome. Thanks for joining me for the radio show today, and for, of course, the little gathering, a post show. We do this whenever I do the radio show as best we can, unless I have somewhere else to be, which happens sometimes. Tomorrow night, I've got a show, flappers.com, flapperscomedy.com, live Zoom stand-up show, relatively apolitical, just a good laugh. I mean, with all this shit that's happening, I don't know quite where we go, but it'll be funny, I promise, and be all about other stuff. So fear not, and I will see you guys tomorrow by hook or by crook. Some of you I'll see both places, either on the live stream or at the Flappers show. You guys are wonderful. Talk to you later. Have a great day. And yeah, so crazy.
I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well. I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well.
I love lamb.
Captain's log.
Yosemites. To Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well.
I do it because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
Support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well.
Soup for my family.
Somebody like that can write good.
Thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I
tranquil.
I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well.
Michigan gave us Motown, gave us Motown, gave us the Mustang.
A lot of very bad things are happening in Nicaragua.
That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy.
I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well.
That's amazing. How did you do that?
Captain's log.